Gosh, it's late, sorry. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our December meeting. Last one before February. So, worth bearing in mind, Christmas soon. Right. First item. Yes. Item number 1 is receiving the apologies for absence and declarations of interest. Apologies.
So we've got apologies from Sarah and Peter and from County Councillor Ian Bates.
Yep.
Do you need to
Just know why.
They all go in a minute.
Okay, so we need to accept the absences even we don't know why they're not here. Bit strange, isn't it? So are we happy that those people aren't here tonight?
Yes.
I propose we accept it. As a seconder?
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favour? Yeah. So check out this one, please.
Yeah.
A bit strange. Yeah. Okay. And declarations of interest, I'm going to declare interest on the green as a common right holder. There are a couple of items here that may affect my being one, but I believe as a non-pecuniary interest I'm okay to continue with the discussion.
I would do the same.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Any others? Declaration of interest? No? Okay. Right, next item is where I can close the meeting and open it to the public. Anybody wishes to speak on any item that's on the agenda shall not speak for more than 3 minutes. Anybody wish to say anything?
Yes, please.
Not pantomime.
Reset.
Yes.
I said I've done this before, and I know that I'll have to do it again. I said this to you before. I'm on a very, very tight budget, income budget, as many people are in the village. For instance, in this financial year, I've had to find an extra £167 for my council tax alone. So when I see a 7% rise, I'm getting panicky. I can't sell my house because the main road is always an issue. We've tried 3 times to sell the house, and each time the issue was the busy main road. We couldn't sell it. So I'm very, very concerned that also, assuming next year you say, oh, we're only going to raise it by 3%, that's 10% in 2 years. Now, that's not on its profligate. I have to sit down every month and decide what I can afford on top of what I have, my commitments. So please, look at people like me, and I'm not the only one in the village, so I'm very concerned and I'm very unhappy with 7%. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll follow on from Margaret. I agree. The government's recommendations for next year's funding rounds are to cap, without a referendum, expenditure by county councils and district councils by 3%. This year it was between 3 and 4%, or depending on which you are. So I can't see a huge justification for raising it by 7% when everybody else has to hold it down to 3. Another couple of quick ones. 19/20-136. Discuss and decide upon continuation of diffusion tube analysis.
Oh yeah.
I'd just like to request that it is continued. As you know, the PC Traffic Working Group are currently gathering evidence from all aspects regarding the effect that the HGVs are having on the village. This is one good empirical measurement of pollution, so I'd like to please propose that we keep that going. And on that front, I notice in the budget there is nothing allocated at all about, or for next year's budget, for support of the PC Traffic Working Group. As I think said at the last meeting, there expect to be some expenditure, perhaps around monitoring of vibration and noise and other things, which will have some expenditure. So there's nothing in the budget. I'd wonder why that's not been in there as a potential cost that we'd like support from the Parish Council on, please. There was one other one, sporting documents again. Looking down this list of many, many items, I have no idea what they are, and a lot of these are to be approved. So nobody in the village, apart from the Parish Council, have had any sight of what you're about to approve in its draft form. And I thought that at least sporting documents for each of those would have been a useful thing, in fact, for pretty much all of the items on the agenda. Just so we can have a look at what is being suggested and perhaps have the opportunity to comment. Now the opportunity is too late, because once the meeting is opened up again, we won't be able to make comment, and we'll only hear for the very first time what you're proposing. So please, I know it's on the agenda under 134.14 to discuss how you can make supporting documents, but it's been going on for 18 months now, so please could you make an effort to produce supporting documents that could help us at least make more value out of these meetings as they go forward. I think they were the main ones. The final one was, and it's a question about the fireworks. Now, I don't know whether or not how the budget is set for that. The budget, I think, sets £1,800 for purchase of fireworks. Does that include the money that I think that was donated or bequeathed by Warren Hutton to the Parish Council for each of those? Or has that now finished, that contribution towards fireworks? And hence, as there was a shortfall from the takings to the cost of the fireworks, that's not again been put in as a contingency, as a shortfall for next year, that costs are speeding the income for that. So when we get on to the subject of budget, I'd be interested to understand what that is, whether that cost for fireworks includes Warren's 500, I think it was £500 a year for 5 years. I can't remember what the number was now. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Could we cover that one off? I think that's it, thank you.
John and myself are here to represent some of the residents down Church Lane, and collectively we have a feeling that there's a safety issue which is growing down Church Lane, and that parking we feel is inadequate, and lighting in some of the areas. John and I live both just off the green, and certainly as we left tonight it's pretty much pitch black there, so there is a safety issue, and I think it's something which has been explored in the past, but as it stands we don't really know how far that got or where we go for a solution, and it seems like there's a number of issues such as the ownership of the green you mentioned.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to have to stop there because that's not on the agenda for tonight. So I'm going to have to
I did
meeting at some other point.
So I did raise it in an email to the clerk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that HCC said no.
And you said you'd raise it this evening.
Yeah, so it's in the clerk's report.
Okay.
But it's not a discussion topic at this moment. But you're right, we have discussed Church Lane before.
So what can we do to revisit that?
Well, outside this meeting we'll have a chat, but I can't discuss it tonight because the point of the meeting is that we only discuss things on the agenda.
Are we able to add it to the agenda for next meeting?
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
So if we could do that now, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, but I say it was on the clerk's reports, and I say we did hear that HDC has said no, so we are sort of batting with HDC. So we just apologise for the confusion, but we'll get on next year as if we've got something to report.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, I'll close the meeting. Yep. And go into the first item, which is to approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on Monday, 4th of November. The Planning Committee on 21st October, and the Finance Committee meeting held on Friday, the 1st of November. Now, you've all seen those as draft. Anybody got any comments? We did have one feedback, that that's been adjusted. So, anybody wish to raise any? And then once they're approved, they can go on the website. I'll do if we do the Parish Council meeting first on the 4th of November.
So the minutes on Dropbox don't have the update that came from the email on
Depends. This is Sharon's comment.
Yeah.
I think she has. I think she was. Her point was that people agree with her. I think that's the only issue, isn't it?
I don't know. I was at the last meeting, so it just said that she feels the meetings are too long.
Yes.
There was an actual. She said she quoted a particular thing about the recommendation about how many meetings were, rather than just her feeling that 2 meetings are too long. I don't know if that.
Yeah, she was talking about the recommendation from the Good Council Guide is 2 hours.
No.
Do you want to add that? Are you happy to add that to 2 hours? Yeah, I think it's like that. I mean, it was mentioned. But yeah. Are we all, those that were here, fine. Are we happy to add it in by hand?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, now that in by hand, I'll do it at the end of the meeting. Sign it in. Apart from that, we all happy? Okay, I'll propose that I sign those. Oh, a seconder, please. Seconding. The 4 of us that were here. All happy, are we? Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go on to the planning meeting, which was held on the 21st of October. Again, you've seen those. Hopefully you're all happy with it. Those that were here. Meetings of planning meeting. I can see Rob moving out the corners on from where I am. Yeah, so that was Collard, Dunk, Goodwich. So I propose that you sign those. Have a seconder? Rob's seconding that. All in favour?
Yep.
Okay, that's the four of us. Thank you very much. And then finally on the minutes signing, we had the finance meeting, which was held on the 1st of November. And again, we had enough people to sign that. So it was myself and Ian and Kim, was it? Yes. So if you two are happy, okay, I'll close second. Ian, favour? So all in favour? Yeah. Thank you much. Okay, right, thank you. Right, so moving swiftly on. Matters arising from the last meeting, including Clerk's report, information only, no discussion and no decision can be made. The overall 5,000.
I haven't gone through those figures, but I think
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So the playground, the fencing and the gate have been installed. The playground has passed its safety inspection and Harris fencing has been removed. There was a comment on the safety inspection regarding the required signage, which is in accordance with a certain British standard, which I am currently looking into and bring to a future meeting. I don't think the current sign that we've got actually qualifies. So the playground is now open. The volunteer group have laid the turf and the gravel, so it does look really good. The bench packs have also been received from Wicksteed, so we just need to find a date for volunteers to come and fit those and fix the benches to the ground. That's the last of the work to be done. The NMU leaflet was distributed to all households and the open meeting regarding the feasibility study was well attended. The feedback received from parishioners was largely positive. There was a general request for the same level of involvement once we reached the detailed design phase. A lot of people were quite passionate about being able to contribute to that phase. And the funding report has been submitted to CCF. The fireworks night, the bonfire night event was a success despite the awful weather, due to the hard work of all those involved. The takings for bonfire night was £1,383 and these have been banked. I have received the spreadsheet that the Parish Council were working on to balance the fireworks and the Hutton money. So I'm now looking into how we can incorporate that spreadsheet into the way I'm doing the accounts now, because that wasn't information I had until late last week. So I will be looking at how we can incorporate that.
How much money is left in the Hutton fund?
It's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one because there's been surplus years and there's been deficit years.
That's the point, I think.
It was 5,000.
Was asked.
It was 5,000.
It was
Yeah, but
5,000.
some years have covered the cost.
Absolutely, so
money's
you can't
coming
be
over.
wrong.
Exactly. Thanks, Rob. Yeah.
So yeah, I will look into that. Microsoft, I've been on the phone to Microsoft again this month. Due to issues with their billing system, I've had to change the way that we pay. So instead of it coming automatically off the MasterCard, it will now be paid by bank transfer, the same as all the other payments. I received an email from a parishioner regarding a road safety audit which Highways England are due to carry out on the B1040, week commencing 9th of December. I was unable, when I wrote this report, I was unable to corroborate that with CCC, but I have now received an email from someone at Highways England corroborating it and asking whether the Parish Council can be involved. So he is looking into the health and safety implications of that with the auditors and will come back to me. And the Church Lane easement, so I've been contacted by a parishioner who has applied to the District Council for an easement over the grassed area in Church Lane to allow vehicular access to the properties on the other side of the green. The green itself is owned by HDC, but HDC are under the impression that the paths are owned by the County Council. So it's quite a complicated setup there. So HDC have refused the application at this point on the grounds that it would set a bad precedent to all the green open spaces that they own. Their words were, if they do it for one, they'd have to do it for everyone. The loss of the green space and the cost involved, they don't have the budget for this sort of works. So the parishioners have asked for help and support from the Parish Council, so I have asked HDC to see if there is an alternative solution, and I'm just waiting for her to come back to me with a couple of questions. So I will keep following that up, and then I'll take it to the county as well, and see what they have to say about the paths. That's been done.
Now, why have we been doing that, obviously?
Oh.
This is the problem there.
This is where you should follow the
Yes.
follow the
So I'm
process.
going to go back a bit. Sorry, James. In the supporting docs is the County Council's report, which I shall now read out. You've seen it, but I'll read it out for all concerned. With regards to CCC budget in particular, this is currently being worked on, but in previous years there have been reports going to the General Purpose Committee I serve on, it's written by Ian Blake, I serve on, discussing budgets across all service areas. As you will be aware, there's general elections, so there will be no discussions now until after Purdah ends. So these discussions will now not follow, they will now flow over into January. The budget will be set at full council on Tuesday, 11th of February 2020. You will know that this is a public meeting beginning at 10:30, you will know that, with papers available prior to this date. Hopefully the Finance Committee meeting will finish around 5 o'clock, or the longest I know of and can remember was 12 hours. There is a reserve date set for 14th of February if we are able to set on that first date. In 30 years I have seen this happen only once. Please pass this on to your councillors. So that's the report from Ian. So apologies for missing out in the right slot. Okay.
Do you know, let's move 1374.
Yeah. Might have to propose it. Are you proposing that? Right, Kieran's proposing that we move 137 forward because we have people from Oak Tree Farm here. So I need a second for that. Oh, they all raise their hands at the same time. We keep getting rid of them. Okay, all in favour? Move around? Yeah, okay. So we'll move on to 137 then. Answer another place. Right, Oak Tree Farm. Shall I read it out? I presume it's probably best, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then you know what's on there. Right, let's check. Just check how far we go. Okay, Oak Tree Farm, this is 1920-137. Current owner is seeking to register his property with the land registry for the first time. It's then been registered prior to sale. Email from parishioner. Dear Nicola, as I'm pretty sure you know, the sale of Oak Tree Farm is in solicitor's hands, and we have applied to the land registry for a first registration, as the land was held under an old title. Whilst the land registry have agreed to expedite the matter in view of the sale, for obvious reasons, I'd like to keep on top of this. Would you therefore be kind enough to let me know when the land registry contact the PC, and I will then know they are processing it. That they will wish to clarify the front border with my house, much as the CC have done in respect of the common. And then there's please cease. Okay, I can do the next day, can't I? So the separate files in Dropbox, which we've seen. You able to guide us through this in terms of what we what we received?
I've got hard copies of what I've scanned to you that I've received from the land reg. So this notice of application for registration based on adverse possession. So what it's basically saying is that the Parish Council have adversely possessed the land that belongs to Oak Tree Farm. So according to the land reg, it's currently owned by the Parish Council, and we're back to this strip of land across the front of the property, because when the Parish Council registered the green in 2007, basically took the common land map and registered that as the green. So where the common land map had been drawn incorrectly back in '68, that then transferred onto this registration of title for the Parish Council. So again, we're talking about the strip of land at the front of the property that encompasses the flower beds, the porch and the eaves of Oak Tree Farmhouse. So it's just, we're just correcting that line on the map again, where we've been drawn on the wrong side of the big black line.
We already discussed it.
We have.
It's fine.
So we decide on the response.
Yeah, so our response, we've got a box that says I consent, and we've got the option to object, and we need to put an objection in writing, or we can fill in the form that says we consent.
I propose we consent.
So bear in mind the county council came back and were happy, weren't they?
Yeah. And well, we've got a copy in here of the county council's report
Their rulings.
with their rulings, and that's their reasoning. So they ruled that the land was provisionally registered as common land under Section 4 of the 1965 Act in 1968. On the date of the provisional registration, the land was covered by a building or was within the curtilage of a building. The provisional registration became final by the decision of the Commons Commissioner in 1976. But since the date of the provisional registration in 1968, the land has at all times been and still is covered by a building or within the curtilage of a building.
Go for it.
So that's the basis. Are we all happy?
Yes.
The Queen of Pembroke.
So I'm happy with it. I just remember the last time we discussed this, there was some comments from parishioners that questioning our rationale. And while I don't think our decision should change, and I don't think it was the wrong decision, I think it would be worth just... We've got two options here: to consent to it, which I think is in line with what we said last time and the right thing to do, but I think we just need to be mindful of why we did that, which is because we believe it's the right thing, and actually from the county council they kind of said, look, even if you say no to this, it'll be bought and you'll lose. So I think just to have that context around it aligns to why we should consent again.
Yes.
So we're happy that an innocent estate has been made,
exactly.
and it's just incorrect.
Exactly.
Nothing's different in this new document. It's just come from a different. It's just come from somewhere different. We're asking to consent to the same thing as we've already
Effectively.
agreed at
Yes.
this meeting. It's
Yes.
just coming from the land registry now rather than the council.
Yeah.
No change to what.
No, it's the same line, it's just drawn in a different colour in this case. It was red, now it's blue. So. Okay. Can I have a proposer then? Anne? That's it. One second. Ian, second. Okay. So all in favour? All happy? Fine. Okay. Thank you very much. It's good. Okay. What's going now? Anyone want to choose another option? I'm looking around the audience. We'll go back to the original. Right. Policy group. The policy group met a week or so ago, and came up with these various procedures and policies. Because of comments made about the length of meetings, I'm proposing that I just go through them, and I have a seconder, I propose a seconder and a signer. This is based on several things really. It was agreed at a meeting where 4 parish councillors were, and the clerk, so quite a big proportion of the parish councillors. And also these are not cast in stone, these are policies that are on the website, and if they prove to be difficult or unworkable, they can always be adjusted. So these are based on national procedures, and they are policies that can be live and adjusted accordingly. So based on that.
Can I just get all bit of that? So
Absolutely.
the things from quick scanning of some of them. There's a few of them that use the word ensure. So for example, the equality and diversity policy says the council will ensure all services are accessible to all people. In my line of work, we have to be very careful about using the word ensure because it's actually guarantee. Can we actually guarantee that all the services we offer are accessible to all people, or do you just endeavour to, for example? Is it, yeah, the definition of guarantee, ensure. So I don't know, in my line of work we can't use that word in those things unless you actually physically can do that. So it just has to be that word.
Because lots of our policies were taken from national documents.
Yeah.
And those that weren't were taken from policies that are currently online.
It's a lot of plagiarism.
So it's just a comment. I don't know if you want to change it, but it's just something I just think we need to be careful of.
I'm sure it doesn't mean make certain of.
Yeah. Needs to
As
guarantee
opposed
make
to
certain of.
do its best.
Try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good
So I
point.
haven't got
That's
something
a
That's a
good
really,
point.
really good
Because
point.
Have you remembered which
well,
ones
the equality
feature?
diversity definitely does, because I'm
Hang
not
on.
seeing it.
So I'm going to bounce that one
But
back.
quite a lot
Under
of
in
them
place,
do.
no?
No,
That's right.
Oh.
Um,
Find a new word.
I mean, we might be able to
Endeavour.
change something.
endeavour.
I don't think it's something we can do on the fly.
No, I think
We
it needs
need
to.
to look at it properly,
Yeah.
because there's some that we just
That you
can't
could-
change.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. If
It's
it
sort
was,
of written for us and we just have to adopt.
Someone needs to be insured, like, data protection, it needs to be
Mm.
insured, but some things you have to, you might not be able to, like we haven't got accessibility necessarily to everywhere in the village, so can we ensure that all people can access all services?
good point.
Well said, that really.
Okay.
Um,
So based on that, I'm going to suggest that we bounce that entire section, and the policy group can meet and just go through and where possible, make it a bit more.
It's
Sorry.
not
I
No.
literally just came to the meeting, so I wasn't.
Yeah.
My other thing is there's no version control or dates on the ones that I saw, so I don't know if
I
that's...
put them on once they're approved.
Right,
I
okay.
think the ones on the
I think the
website.
ones on the website have all got version
Yeah.
control.
Yeah, because you're right. It's very hard to know whether you're working to the current version
Yeah.
or one that was.
And I thought it would be quite useful if it's an updated document, if there could be a short summary of the changes with a rationale,
Mhm.
so then you can see quickly what's been updated and maybe a reason for it, rather than just trying to look at the whole document and think.
Yeah. I mean, lots of these are new that we didn't have already,
Yeah.
but you're right. I think I
I think
think
there's
you're
only
right.
one on there that's two.
I agree, because otherwise you've got to skim through it, or you can just highlight the differences. So, yeah, right, that's all. Yes. Nobody else wants to agree, by the way.
That's a good idea.
We found your niche.
So policy group and legal, which is good, because I was missing.
Yes, we've met.
Oh, it's all right, I'll start compiling a new list.
We've met many times over the last month.
There's
Okay.
a lot of policies though, so that's how I'm getting through all that.
Well, we were almost there, but I mean, having said that, it won't take us long to go through that and just check up on the bits and pieces.
You could divide and conquer.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Well, presumably we can scan through each document, check for insure, check whether we can take it out, check whether it's a legal requirement, and then go from there. Okay, thank you very much.
Having said all that, with the Code of Conduct and the Green Spaces Management Policy, given that those are to review as well as, should we review them now? Or
No,
do
we reviewed them at the meeting, didn't we?
Well, why is it say review them until?
Because there was no changes to those two.
Yeah, I mean, we're not adopting it because it's already as
Oh,
is.
fine. I'm just going by the wording that's there.
Yeah, sorry?
Can I ask you to see if I can get...
Okay, is there anything insuring that one? The clerk is just pointing out 134.10. For some reason, we seem to be quite keen to make sure that we have a policy should we have a death of a senior national figure. And this is very much based on what we've been given by senior authorities. So I think the recommendation is that we approve that one. So I don't want to go into too many more details, but if we could just approve that one, then that would be good. I'm not second guessing any. Sorry. So 134.10. Okay, I'm going to propose you sign that. Approve that. Can I second it?
Can I just have a quick scan?
Okay, sure.
Could I just ask you to make them available before the next meeting?
Sorry?
Can I just, like I asked,
You
make...
just asked that, haven't you?
I know, and you haven't answered it here. It would be good if you said it here. So if you could say yes, we will make them available before they're approved. Else it'll get buried.
That's a good idea.
This one was brought up at the last meeting, was it not?
The death of senior?
Yeah.
Yes, it's been around for a long time.
So I had a good read of it last time,
Mm.
chose not to delve into it this time,
Mm.
on the basis that it hadn't been changed much.
No.
It's more or less prescribed anyway.
That's right,
Well, and you have to also adjust it depending on the seniority of
yes.
the individual. So it's an outline, and we'll, following that event, there will be,
discretionary powers
Yes.
contained within it.
and we will get information from my authority as to what we are required to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that basis, go for it.
It was still just checking it.
Sorry, I don't think it's very long, so.
Well, it's very much based on what we give.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't seem to be having it. We probably could actually.
I can't see any insurance.
Make sure it's not to look at.
Right,
In the
yes.
garden.
Okay.
Shall we go?
Yep, okay, so I'm going to recommend that, or I'm going to propose that we approve 134.10, approve and adopt the senior national figure protocol.
Yeah.
Oh, second please. Ian, you mum?
Second.
Yeah, Ian's seconding. All in favour?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right. So the rest will look out for insure, come back to another meeting. And item 134.4, we left that at that meeting, it was discussed at that meeting, and
Sorry, did you just vote to...
approve 134.10?
Yeah, you did, but did you just vote to look at insure and bring it to another meeting?
All of them?
Yeah, just do one.
Yes. Well, we're going to go from 1 to 9 and 11 to 13.
Yeah.
Come back to a future meeting. Can I vote for seconder for that, please? That's my proposal.
Second that.
Okay. You're all seconding it. All in favour? Those come back. Ian, you happy?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's bounce that one back. Right. 134.14. Discuss how the council can make supporting documents available to parishioners. Now, this was discussed at that meeting with a suggestion that we look at the costs. Is that right? And something different this time is that we have issued the budget. On the supporting documents, the budget has been issued, so there's a bit of good news on that one. So it's still in limbo.
Well, we said we'd have a look at what's, how we separate out.
Yes, yes,
Things
methods
that
by
are
which to
easy
do it.
to
So we're,
share.
we're actually going to do a proper analysis of exactly what's involved. in the
Yeah.
costs.
And the costs and how we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's-
What does that mean, sorry? Because I
well, for
I
instance,
appreciate that we keep rolling this on and rolling this on. So like,
Well, we've had a lot of policy documents to get through, as you see, so this has been in the policy group. for a
this is
while.
what it, so it's part of the policy group.
Yeah, that was
So
the
it's-
resolution from the June
Last-
meeting.
So we thought we'd cleared our deck. You spilled it. If we cleared our deck, then we're going to then look at this and spend some time, because when we discussed it last, we threw up a few issues which could potentially be quite significant in terms of cost and time and liabilities. So we just, before we plowed into it, we just wanted to make sure we were totally covered.
Can we discuss doing some sort of like summary agenda, like an agenda with a bit more?
well, I think that's one of the options that's out there, but then it's a question of how much time it takes to do it. Therefore, it's the cost, isn't it? But I mean, yes, you could have something based on supporting docs, which we generally get supporting docs, and then it says see additional information, so you could just limit it to supporting docs. But it's, you know, that's a suggestion. But obviously it's discussed, really. Yeah, it's up there. Watch this space. Okay, moving on to,
That resolution to bounce back to policy.
yes, that's resolution to bounce back to policy. Can I have a second? I'm going to propose that. Can I second that? Kieran seconding it. Can I have a, all
Just
in
wondering why
favour?
it's on the agenda to discuss it.
It's on the agenda that we have, the proposal is that we were looking into methods by which we could do it and the costs. So it did come up at the policy meeting. It's just
Okay,
keeping,
all
it's
we're
keeping
agreeing to
informed,
now
really.
is that policy group will take it back and.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of work in progress, just letting you know it hasn't been forgotten. So, if I have a seconder that we can carry on running over. Tim seconded, all in favour? Or sort of, not sure? Yeah, you're on a limb, so you can either go against or you can abstain.
Well, we should vote until we're all happy to vote. So.
Well, we might not all be happy one day.
No, but I mean, if we still want to discuss it further.
I just like appreciate the time that's been, like, it wasn't just since June that we've been discussing this, it's been since pre-Nicola, because we said when we get a new clerk, it's been more than a year. So it's a long time that we've not done
It
it.
hasn't been every year.
No, it's
No,
pre-Nicola,
the issue has.
the issue was pre-Nicola. We put it on the back burner until we got a clerk to look at how we could do it, and then that's more than a year ago. So it's frustrating for you know, people that keep asking about it.
Well, that's really what
Parishioners
I
and
suppose why I want to talk about it now. It's in hand, but we've had to deal with these other policy issues which have to be adopted. Some of us found that we were way behind, and so we've tried to do that. It's put a lot of hours in over the last few months doing this, and
yeah, I
so
appreciate that. I'm just wondering if is the policy group the best way to get this done then? Is that the only?
The alternative is you talk about it in an open meeting, which is more difficult. Because there's more people. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I presume, are you offering more than, are you suggesting,
how don't you join the policy group?
It's not particularly that I want to be part of it, it's just, I'm just sort of trying to voice other people's
Yeah, no, I understand.
feelings about it, so I sense frustration of people that come to meetings and around the meetings and other people about it, so yeah, if it's being progressed through the policy group, and there's going to, I'm assuming then the policy group will come back with a couple of different options.
Well, that's the thing.
And
So
then we'll
what we
vote on
wanted
it,
to do is make sure that we didn't. It's a very easy thing to say, but it's actually quite a hard thing to do, especially with all the laws on key information and all that kind of thing. It's really quite difficult. It's going to involve a bit of work each month to prepare it, and also there's timing issues in a lot of the issues that come up. Not necessarily at the beginning of the month, straight after a meeting, and normally develop over a period of time. So someone's got to field all that information, go through it, redact what's not, that shouldn't be made public, and then issue it in a time. So
are you looking at what other councils do? Because I know the feedback is from other people that do other clerks have options?
Yeah, there are. One clerk I know of scans everything into a PDF.
Do they go through and redact everything?
She goes through and redacts everything. In order to do that, she has a feed-in scanner and Adobe Professional, and she's a full-time clerk. So yeah, you look at the bigger councils; they tend to have more information out.
Balance, okay.
Ideas, certainly accept.
yes, yeah, I think it's absolutely, yes, yes, yeah.
they're probably going to be a halfway house, something that's manageable.
Because, I mean, you could, sorry, just get into it, but any item owner, in terms of what's on the agenda, could at least make a start by saying this can be shared well in
We
advance.
discussed that, didn't you, having like a template form that when you submit something for the agenda, you have to put like a summary of what the item is about, as well as just a random statement, so that that whole thing could be submitted and you can just pop that into the agenda.
It's a bit large and gone.
But I don't know if most things on the agenda come through like that, really.
Most
Most of them come through from looking at it from things that you
Well,
put
that's
on the
a
agenda.
We'll have a look.
Come through from emails or...
We've mulled that one over. So, are we happy to continue the policy group to work on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favour? Are you happy now? Yeah, okay. Sharon's assurance. Good evening. That's all right.
Right. The
Finance Committee. Okay. Review financial report. What should I read out? Councillor Bates' comments.
they were more about the budget.
Okay, so budget. Yes, we did. Yes.
Oh, no.
Had a
So, financial report.
Financial
No.
report is our actuals, right?
yeah,
And the budget, the stuff in the finance committee's agenda, minutes is the proposed.
proposed
What
budget
So
for next year.
why is the proposed for some items less than the actuals to date? I think. Quite quickly. Like stationery and office.
So stationery office this year included just a laptop.
So don't we have to include that in our budget for this year? 'Cause it's-
No, that's your budget for this year. Budget for next year does need to include the purchase of a laptop.
So the finance committee is from 2020 to 2021.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is to do with us.
So your budget analysis shows your comparison to what you set your budget for this year and where you are in your actuals compared to what you budgeted what's in the Finance Committee is next year's budget.
Do we have anything that shows what our budget was and what we spent?
It's in your budget analysis.
Report, budget.
The second tab is budget analysis.
Oh, okay.
You've got management accounts and budget analysis.
Because we looked at this at the last meeting, didn't we? Because this is presented at every meeting to councillors. And sometimes it does take a long time to go through it, so we don't necessarily need to go through it tonight, but if we're agreeing on the precept, then spend as long as you like. So quite often we have glossed through it, that's sort of accepting it's there.
Are you looking at both the budget for the future and...
No, the budget for the future will be done in the next line. Basically, we're being asked just to look at the financial report to date
Yes.
for interest. I mean, I think anything that's changed really would be the fireworks have gone on. The firework take has gone on.
There's a few expenses for the playground.
Oh, of course,
Playground
yes.
will jump somewhat,
Yeah.
because obviously I haven't the money back for that, so it's
So we
not
paid
an
out.
expense.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's probably best if you just have a look at it and come back, because those figures aren't going to change now. In those ones.
Well, the 2019-2020 will keep changing as I keep putting
Yeah.
expenditure in.
Okay.
The previous years won't change.
So what are things where we put in the budget? We had a budget for maintenance reserve, and we've not spent it. Does that roll over into the future years, or does it just
Yes.
get lost?
So no, I then, in my full account spreadsheet, I've got the details of what's in the reserves, because I have to put those in the audit, so they were in all the audit paperwork. So I then have to detail what's in the reserves. So at the end of the year, so I've predicted the expenditure will be £250 as we've budgeted. And I will then just transfer that money in my accounts. So the money doesn't physically go anywhere, it all sits in the same
I'm
pot.
just wondering, so say for example it says here like bridge reserve £500, we haven't spent anything, and in the budget for next year we've got another 500. Is that
But in
an
order
extra
to
500?
replace
So now we've got 1,000 for bridges.
Yeah, yeah. So there's already money in that pot, and we just keep
Right.
adding to it. 'Cause I can't remember what we said. Bridge costs.
So just basically
We had to just try and work out where we want to be and what the time period is,
Yeah,
by which
you
time
might
we
have
can cash
to-
in, because we've actually renew the bridges. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the playground, for instance, we looked at that on the basis that you need to put money aside now for the next playground.
Yeah.
Hopefully not for many years.
Okay, that one?
Yeah.
So I'll move on to, where did you talk about really?
It's just a review, so you don't go.
Fine. Thank you. So moving on to budget, bearing in mind what we've heard tonight from the parishioners, I'm also going to read out the comments that we had from County Councillor, which you have seen on supporting documents, but I'm going to read it out. Comments on the budget received from County Councillor. B1040, I see no financial allocation for this road. You'll be fully aware the group has been working on new signage, so this should be included in the budget. Remembrance Sunday, as a parishioner, I would like to see greater numbers of poppies in areas around the village, and as an example, what about the village garden? I note the budget allocation for fireworks, but I believe there must be a firm commitment that any shortfall is to be picked up by the PC. The next item I'm not going to read out because, to bear in mind, that's a village hall committee point we shouldn't have got out in public. So I'd ask you all to bear that in mind and not pass any further. My question relates to the green open spaces as a whole. Is it confined to the green or the whole village? Well, we know it's the whole village, that's fine. Regards to refurbishments of ponds, particularly on Gravy Way, where there is a proposal to create a footpath, how will this be achieved? Will it result in the highway width being reduced, stroke altered? Had an extra thought. I see nothing in the budget for next year's local highway bid, LHI, so assume you are not to make a bid. So, those are the comments we had. And if I just bring you back to the budget. you can see what we're proposing, and you can see that there is actually a shortfall. So the total budget is 37, and if we go for the precept of 3,600, the 7% increase, there'll be a 3,000 shortfall. So we'll have to cut our cloth anyway. We discussed at the last meeting the main reason, because we're basically going for a £2,000 increase, which we're attributing to better or increased handyman services and the increased cost of electricity, which we now have to buy direct rather than on the back of the Cambs County Council. So those were the two things that we are attributing the increase to. You will also bear in mind the comments made about the fact don't go too high, but at the same time there are comments here about you haven't allowed this and you haven't allowed that. It's very hard to allow for things when you don't know how much they cost, but we do have reserves, and if we find that things are coming along that are more important, then as in most budgets, you have to knock out other things that are less important. So that's the proposal at the moment. Does anyone make any comments about what they've seen and heard?
We are allowed to fundraise on it.
I don't think we are we? Well, you say that, I mean, we obviously fundraised for the playground, but whether we actually fundraised or whether people have donated, I don't know what.
Well, I suppose I'm going to be saying that there are many sources of funds out there, and are there specific areas, items that we might earmark, say, well, if you're going to do that, you'll have to find funding for it.
But I mean, generally we have to match, don't we, or we have to help?
You have to help, but you don't necessarily have to match.
No, not match, sorry.
Generally,
But I just want to think it's a way of trying to do stuff, but without, given we haven't got the money.
I think that works when you've got a particular task you want to do.
Yeah. It's maintenance things, it's not going to be.
These are really sort of obligations that the council have to maintain and make sure trees are safe and that sort of thing.
And without flicking back through from it, do all these, I'm assuming all these figures can match up with previous year's spends plus inflation?
Some of them go down.
Yes.
But things like, you know, the major ones like green open spaces and...
I think that...
We don't have this the same.
Same as last year.
On the budget today.
And was that, are we on track with the spends from last year?
We're more or less, yeah.
Slightly over, didn't we, on the voluntary work rules coming?
We're also relying on the voluntary route picking up the bits that we're not paying for.
The question I have is legal and travellers fees on there. Is there a reason that they're separated? Is that not a legal fee? So they're both of those things.
Legal is really dealing with things like streets and stuff, which we've seen. Again, there's a protection that might be something in the future, so we put it in the budget. Travellers is very specific. We know if we get them, that's what it's going to cost.
Because we're allowed to recruit on.
And maybe that, if we don't get them in the next year or 2 years, then that money can be there. We won't put it in for the future budgets.
I suppose the thing is, like, there's quite a few things on the budget that aren't guaranteed that we're going to pay out. So there's quite a lot of it that you definitely say utilities, insurance, subscriptions, things that are, and then there's quite a lot of it that are reserves or possibles. Is there a way to separate that out and think, well, what's that actually, what do we definitely 100% need? Because that's our bare minimum that we have to cover. And then the other thing, maybe we need to look at how that can be covered if it's not by precept.
I think that's the key point. If you listen to the voice of the parishioners, you know, there's clearly a concern about increasing our understanding. We've got a gap as it is, and we're seeing some things increase. I think it's our duty to find ways to cut costs to make it affordable as a parish council and for the village.
When we did go through this in quite a lot of detail, there's no point putting low figures in, when you really know they're
No,
going to
no.
be higher.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
There's
but
some
if you haven't got
things,
the money, you
maybe
can't
we
do
say,
it.
well, that's not doing training. We can make some of those kind of decisions, but,
It's got to be affordable equally.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's also balanced, isn't it? Because we've heard tonight about don't increase it, but on the other hand, we've had comments from others who have suggested we're going to need extra monies here and there.
Well,
Very simple.
I'd say the broader question is the mix right? Is how I do that. But also if the total adds up to more than we're going to get, something has to go.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that even if we did agree tonight, we're going to be £3,000 short. So we are going to have to adjust.
If we've got a budget
Yes.
and we miss things, that suggests even more we need to cut our cloth accordingly.
Yeah, yeah.
So we either do a blanket across the whole lot, or we...
Well, I guess kind of Laura's point, if you look at some of the things that have increased, I think we're right to question why and do we need to do them? That's the obvious place to start. Handyman services is a significant increase, isn't it, from where it has been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of 5 or 6 times increase.
Yeah,
You know, I think we should be questioning, if we've got an affordability issue, do we do those? You know, do we, why would we do that?
Well, you have agreed to employ a handyman. So
I haven't,
Yeah,
but we
that-
have.
that's-
we have, the
that's
council, the
before.
council.
But
That's
if we
before
can't
we
afford
saw
it, we
the
can't
budget.
afford it.
Before we saw
Yeah,
the
okay,
budget.
it's worth considering. But the point we were saying there was that we're hoping that his services would
Well, I think we
show around the village.
I think we need to do a little more than hope. If we've got a budget deficit,
Well,
we've got to find a way that either they take costs out elsewhere or we don't do it.
Does there not be an overlap between the green open spaces spend and the handyman services spend? Is that handyman going to not cover some of our green open spaces work potentially?
There may be, but without going into too much now. It doesn't help us for this budgetary period, but it's something we're definitely looking at.
Well, I mean, just if you look at it at a wider council level, like county council, whatever, they would cut things like, I'm not suggesting we do this in the village at all, but like they turn off lights and things like that. They actually cut off utilities. So things like this, they're nice to have, as opposed to actually they're things we can get volunteers to do, as opposed to really that's what other councils, higher councils than us would have to do in these situations. Do
Parish councils have a handyman employed.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's their whole workforce.
Groundsman. As well as, you know, sort of groundsman like John Carter.
Most do, yeah.
I mean, is the volunteers route does seem to be one way out of overspend, to put it that way. And could you just identify those things that could be done by volunteers?
It'd be interesting how many volunteers turn up for volunteer work there.
Well, but the secondary point is,
Yeah.
if we know things that could be done by volunteers, we need to put a lot more effort into persuading them to do it.
I mean, for instance, there's the pollarding gang that do the trees, isn't there, in the cemetery every year in the churchyard. So, you know, there are people, I think if we ask people to do things, then they would. I mean, there's obviously probably not in the depths of winter, but it's most jobs need doing in the sort of spring, summer anyway, don't they?
Hopefully. Certain jobs don't, but yes. Yeah.
We have certainly tried to keep the spend down in the open spaces. We've had the longest standing voluntary group in the council.
Yeah,
It's been running for many years, private cutting, that kind of thing. So without becoming, I mean, it does involve giving up time, of course, valuable time at weekends. We can't, it's been difficult to have it so it's sort of, the whole parish is reliant on voluntary work.
Well, a lot of communities are doing that. A lot of folk are doing that because they ain't got no choice. It's the only way to get things done.
But to put this in context, and tell me if I'm wrong in this, but last time I looked at the current lead tables for Parish Council, Hilton, the number of dwellings is pretty low in terms of its precept. something knocks
Oh, no,
anywhere
I
near
agree with that.
the middle of the table.
But even still, we are where we are, which is we've got
Yeah.
a bigger budget, we're only going to get money, even if we increase it.
And I think while that may be the case, I think you've still got to take into account change on people's lives because people are used to that. You know, so people are budgeted. You know, we're probably not a fair demographic sitting around this table of perhaps all across the village and maybe don't have the same problems as some. Just a suggestion. So I think we need to be mindful that if there are people in different situations, it doesn't matter where we are on the table. It's about how quickly we change to get there.
Yep.
So, you know, we've had voices tonight state that people are concerned about that. I've not heard anyone other than Ian who suggests we miss things, but I don't think he necessarily said that we need to put the precept up to accommodate that. I just think we need to be, if we want to get there and that's the plan, so be it. But I think we need to be mindful of what people
this to
say.
be incorporated, but actually would make the situation worse.
Yeah, no, exactly. I understand that. I understand that. So I guess that to me says we need to be even more careful what we've got here. Because if we know there are things that are potentially going to come on top, you've got to look at this and, you know, and actually, like I said, at the minute there's a gap already. I just think you can't blindly go on when you've got a budget gap. And actually you need to look at it and challenge yourselves to find more cost-effective ways of getting things done, or delay, or find ways to raise funds through the needs.
Well, the other way of looking at it is what would you be happy as a precept, Rose? You know, you can work from both ways, can't you? You work at the budget, or you work at, we've got this amount of money, and go backwards.
Yeah, indeed.
What's a comfortable rise?
Well, I was just going to pick up on Rob's point there. I mean, you're absolutely right. But this may be something we could do, adjust over maybe 1 or 2 periods, because we're not going to be able to make this. We're either, if we don't put precept up, we're going to have an even bigger shortfall.
Yep.
And I can't see much on this list which I think we could cut honestly now, because most of it is well, it's all expensive. The Parish Council is obliged to make.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's easier if you've got a bit more time to start really cutting back if we have to.
I guess the only one, and excuse apologies, I wasn't involved in the conversation, but the handyman one, it jumps out at me as like I say, a 5 or 6 fold increase. Unless we actually understand what savings we're going to make, personally, given that you've got a gap, I'd pause on it. And it's difficult, because by the sound of it, we may have made commitments to people, but you know what? That's kind of life. I think we need to understand, as a village, whether we can afford it. The numbers don't stack up.
Yes, yes.
I agree.
Well, the handyman position is something that we, as a village, I think need. You know, I really do think it's legitimate. It's not a.
No, I'm not
We've had one for
questioning
many
it.
years.
It's more a case of can we afford it at the minute,
Yes.
and what are the other options to do it? We've got a gap financially that we can't cover.
So are you
Make a
suggesting?
difficult decision somewhere where you can't just keep going with a deficit, or either that, or we agree to make a significant increase outgoings, which we've had one parishioner at least, but there are many parishioners probably in a similar situation. And if you look countrywide, councils are having to make difficult budget decisions and cut things. Obviously, we know
Yeah.
at all levels, all organisations, public services. So I think us increasing something by such a significant amount, actually, when you look at the money, it seems very difficult to justify almost really.
Yeah. But I think your point, Graham, about, you know, do you set a budget and then see where you get the money from, or do you establish the precept from what you're going to get, and then see what you're going to have to manage?
Yeah.
I'd certainly prefer the latter to the former.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
most of
always
us
chasing your
have a
tail.
certain amount of money and then decide how you're going to spend it, don't you?
Last year we got a recommendation of how much was like 1.5%.
Yeah, we haven't increased. We've always kept it below the recommendation.
Yeah. So was there a recommendation this year?
2-3%. Yeah.
What, all the reserve, the maintenance reserves, is there any way to group that and reduce
Shade
any
it
of that, shade it a little bit? Because, I mean, it's difficult because I think all of these things may be needed in the future to build up. But
Yes, I mean, it's just,
I was going to say, we have actually trimmed those reserve funds by 650. If you look at them compared with what we had this last year. We, for example, where are we? Bridge replacement reserve contribution has been halved. We've taken £100 off the bench maintenance reserve contribution, and we've reduced the path maintenance reserve contribution from 400 to 100. So that's a total of £650 that we've actually reduced there.
But
So we
it's,
did look towards trying to trim.
yeah.
This is our meeting on the 1st of November.
And a bit of me saying that's great. I guess the bottom line is it's not quite enough. I'm not necessarily saying just from that fund, but across the piece.
But I mean, it's shocking when you look at it. There's a 7% increase, I grant you, but it means that the total precept is going up by about £2,000.
So on average, £12 household, which for some will be more like £1 or £2. Other houses would be £10 a year.
Yeah, depending on
So
house, yeah.
it's, we're not, just to keep it into context.
Sure, no, I understand that. I guess, but if I've understood the budget correctly for 2021, it's still not going to be enough to do it.
Even with that increase.
That's
but what
kind of the point. Even with that, it doesn't stack up to that number.
That's what I'm saying.
Everything on the budget will have to be reduced by 10% effectively, to make both ends meet.
Yeah.
That's a challenge, isn't it?
There's some things we can't reduce at all,
So
can't we?
just over 3,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
3,120.
The difference,
What's that?
yeah.
The difference.
7.5% is.
Well, sorry, no, between
Yes,
between the income, the recommended income, and the
And it,
suggested budget.
The top section is with the 7%, right?
Yeah. The 30,600 is a recommended precept, which is 7% more than the 28,000 that we had this year.
Yeah, 28,620.
and what was the previous cost of the handyman before?
Well, he would have been about 80 or 90 pounds every 2 months.
It was about 430 quid looking at the last
That's
year.
right, 400.
So
So
it's,
that is a massive increase, isn't it?
It is, but on the other hand,
Look at his hourly rate.
yeah, he wasn't being charged or charged or what. Another thing is that the intention rather than the hope. The intention is that the handyman would do a lot more. You know, we're often getting complaints about overhanging this and that, and benches not doing whatever, and fences, and looking after the parish property. So the intention there is to increase the scope of supply. So that's why it's not like for like.
if you've got a budget gap, those are the things that strike me as needs to be a bit more
Yeah.
without a commitment to spend money that we just don't have.
Well, we can certainly try it for a year and see whether we get
This
a
is,
satisfactory service.
this is the budget. So I remember when we discussed the handyman, it was going to be, there was no set hours. Is this based on the
It's-
minimum number of hours?
Yeah, yes, 5 hours.
So it's based on the minimum. So
Yeah.
5
potentially it
hours
could
a
be more
week.
than that.
And this is going to be for a 1-year contract. See how it pans out. Initially, sorry.
We've got two different questions here. One is, do we put the precept up by 7%? And the other is, how do we balance the books? With or without the increase?
We balance the books by taking a bit out of reserves. Right, that's it for this year.
But this
And then-
includes reserves.
Gives
No,
us
we have some general, the parish council has some general reserves that you can dip into, like we dipped into them for the benches because that wasn't
How
budgeted.
much do we have in general reserves? Why isn't it on there?
Well, this is the budget.
So I think that's fine if there was something exceptional in here as a one-off, but there isn't. This is your ongoing cost. To dip into reserves ongoing cost is just bad financial practice.
Yeah, it's not good.
You know, if there was something exceptional in there that said, well, dip into reserves, it's not a normal year. This is a normal year, it says you can't cover your costs. So we're setting out our stall saying we're going to be under next year with potentially more on top.
Yeah.
Just doesn't make sense.
It seems like if we took, you know, if we went without the handyman for a year, then actually those numbers would tally, wouldn't it? And
It's
I
the only
just-
thing on here that really strikes you as something
Yeah.
that's exceptional to last year that we didn't have.
You
On the
still,
budget
I'm not saying it's not a nice thing to have,
yeah,
and there isn't value to it. You're saying you
Yeah.
can't afford it, you can't afford it.
You just wonder whether it is a bit of a luxury,
but
actually.
you're still going to have to find someone to get the bins out on a weekly basis. I mean, that was obviously the lowest time part, but it's a regular thing. Every week the bins are put out for the bin out. So I mean that's
Which bins around the park?
I don't know.
around the village.
I don't know what's in
Do
the
the-
green open spaces contracts, but where we've got bank towers with certain people there, could that be part of their responsibility to streamline some of this rather than paying additional costs?
Would
It's a bit
HGs, would
But
the
it
bin
is,
men
but
not
it's not.
collect it?
No, it has to be out and back.
Because they collect, you know, the litter bins, the black litter bins, don't they?
I thought they had to be got out.
No.
No?
So the only bin that the,
Oh,
sorry?
okay, that's fine.
It's only the one from the park.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
these dog litter bins, if
Yes.
you like, near the wilderness and this one,
Yes.
they come and empty.
Okay. That's fine.
I just think,
Bins get emptied.
yeah,
That's right.
On that, just one question, on that current year's donations, that 4,000, is that all the parishioners' donations to the playground?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a one-off.
And the town trust.
Mm.
That was
And
our,
the town trust is.
Yeah,
that was our fundraising for Benjamin.
yeah. Just checking.
But if you take handyman services out, I mean, I'll just check with our clerk. Can we tackle that one?
Well, I've only had one applicant, so I can say to him.
Not this year. So that's not potentially, that's not an issue. So we could potentially do that if council.
But if we didn't, but can we, I know we discussed this previous meetings and we agreed on that the previous handyman was paid on an ad hoc contract basis, and that was obviously much cheaper.
Well, you still have, nowadays you have to pay the common rate. And therefore if you're employing someone, you really ought to give them some sort of hourly rate and an hourly contract, I would suggest. It's not very acceptable nowadays to say,
If you employ them,
Yeah.
if you're not
Yes,
employing them,
but
you
it's
just
not a
pay for
contract,
service,
it might
you
be
pay for
free.
service.
yes.
No, he was already.
But didn't we discuss previously whether we would employ someone or whether we would subcontract like
We
on
did,
that?
yes, but the cost of that would be more because you're paying twice the rate, because you're paying for his insurance and his tools
Okay,
and
so the
things.
reason that it's increased is not because we're increasing the hours, is it, or is it because we're
Yes,
increasing the
yeah,
hours?
well, yeah, increasing the
So
hours.
it's significantly increasing the
Yes,
hours.
yeah. But I'm
It might
happy,
be
I'm happy to
naive,
suggest that he's taken out and we see what
Yeah.
happens in the village. But we're still going to be, you're still going to have to consider the awkward question of whether it goes for 7% increase
Yeah,
or,
'cause that's,
because you're still going to be £1,000 difference, and whether we go for smarter buying and try and get our prices down. Because we're only looking at 5-10% reduction in everything we do here.
so I'm assuming just the basic things like the insurance and utilities, we've already looked at renegotiating better prices, we've already done all the basics.
It's actually got worse because we're now having to buy direct rather than through county council.
So
So
that's why
we've got a £400 bill extra there, so that wasn't good news.
venue costs, is that just hiring here to have our
Yep.
meetings?
The Methodist Church.
We do, WebEx.
I know
Could
the
we
cost of
alternate
here is going
with-
up, so that may increase the rentals
Sorry?
next year. The cost of the village hall is going up, so that will increase the rent.
Could we alternate and use the Methodist Church for every other meeting? Because that's about half the price, isn't
In
it?
theory, it might confuse parishioners, but yeah, in theory.
We're not having a stampede every week.
No, but the two that do,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Pat,
we have 10, double good.
We could meet every 6 weeks instead.
yeah.
I would question whether we would totally do away with the handyman. I would be a lot happier if we had a more, say, modest budget aside for him. Because I feel if we do manage to employ a handyman, they're obviously not falling over each other to apply for the post. And if we were able to employ somebody, I think there'd be a tremendous advantage in having somebody. And if you were to do that on a,
Flexible.
you know, a lower basis than we would, some of us would like, that would better be not at all. And we could then possibly increase it after a year.
The advert's currently for 5 hours, but that can be
Yeah,
negotiated.
yeah.
I mean, Bluebell Village, there are things that need doing.
That's the
I mean,
thing.
this
I
thing-
mean, I would prefer to have it as we budgeted it.
And also, don't forget, we've added to our assets quite a bit with the new play park, benches, this kind of thing. We didn't look after our benches, that's why they need replaced.
Yeah.
That is right.
And so to have somebody who's looking after those sort of things.
I don't question any of that, but at the end of the day, we haven't got the money to do it. Not necessarily do that,
But
but if we haven't got money to do everything that's on there, then something has to give.
But I understand the point. But just to say that we've gone through everything, we have in previous years, we've pretty much balanced the books all the way through, haven't we? More or less. We've tried to be cautious and sensible with this budget, and we have looked at everything.
Yeah.
And there is a mismatch this year, and we're asking to go some way to reaching the figure,
Yeah.
so it's not too big a painful jump. But and also it gives us time to readjust and make some things happen in the next 12 months or so. And we can also look at this and see as time goes through, as budgets go to actual, whether we can make some savings.
So if I understand you right, you're saying if we can increase the precept as suggested, then we'll just have to manage.
We will try and nip and tuck and try and get to where we are at the end of the year and get it to
Or
balance.
drop off the ledge.
And if we get hit by a big, who knows what it might be in the future, then we'll have to do what the council always does, and that's has to dip into reserves and then try and build it back up again. But that's just the way the council works.
I guess for sure. But I suppose I'm just trying to keep separate in my mind the precept question, which in a sense we haven't come to yet, from having a budget that will balance, that is actually affordable.
So if we were to say, everything on that list I think is pretty good, apart from the handyman, that's the one that does stand out, as Rob says. So if we were to look at either delaying that or reducing,
I wonder if we delay it for a year, because the awkward thing would be is if we do employ a handyman and then in a year's time we have to say, actually, we've done a really good job, but we can't afford to carry on, employing you. I think, we've done without a handyman for, 6 months already, and maybe...
In some ways it shows.
it doesn't show. And there's things that we would like to be done, which there's nobody to do it unless there's somebody volunteers to
Or
do it.
maybe we need to get some voluntary groups up.
Something's a bit more. But I
In
mean,
what way does it show?
well, there's fences that are falling down.
There's one at the end of the green which needs repairing, there's one into the wilderness that needs sorting out. In the past, we have done a bit of that out of directed hours, but we're not in a position to do that at the moment.
When you say directed hours, do you mean the green open spaces?
Yeah, but this last year we used our directed hours up in the first 6 months. So that's why I'm a little bit reluctant to add more burden into that, because I think it would be...
So does that, the green open spaces money, because it's significant, does it have into what all the different amount is going towards within that?
That's a good point.
Because I know we talked about the policy before, and that we cover a lot of green open spaces. It covers the playground. Yeah, we've got maintenance for playgrounds separately, I think. But the green open spaces policy actually includes the playground. So I don't know if that's included in the 15,000. Can we break it down? Say what's urgent tree work, what's mandatory?
Because that's not just tree work, is it?
It's Tree and John.
I guess it would be good to see the breakdown on that.
Yeah, yes.
And is that something we could reduce, having a cricket pitch mode to, fine-tooth comb every...
Well, it's not it's the fine-tooth comb bit is all done by Adam, free of charge.
Oh, right.
The general outer pitch, which isn't fine, which is sort of, I think we would be in trouble with our parishioners for not having a nice area to play, so I think you do need the short grass.
And John does that on his mower,
Yeah, since probably.
But because he took over from Rodney, we didn't include, that's not included in his contract, that's just something he does outside of that.
Right.
But because we used to have Romney, then we had John doing his contract.
So he's paid separately for that.
I'm just thinking, if we're looking at the handyman being a big rise, but we think we need one, the biggest amount is the 15,000 for being able to spaces. So without knowing what that covers, it's hard to know.
Well, I can
Slice
tell
off
you,
bit of that, and
I can tell you, it's the contract and it's tree work in the main, and the mowing of the cricket pitch.
Is there an opportunity there to look at that contract out to tender and see if we can get some price discount there? Because some of those things, strike those things where if you put them together and put them out, and
This is what I was referring to earlier, but I don't want to say too much because it's still a live contract.
yeah, okay,
We can't do it with, it's live for next year.
that's fine.
So it's something that can be considered, certainly.
Certainly, I think what's coming out of this is we've all got to be very vigilant and try and manage things as tightly as we can. And that'll be one thing in the future.
But we could presumably budget for a handyman for 2.5 hours or something instead of 5.
Well, take some outside information.
Yeah, yeah.
And see, I mean, it's much easier to say, you're very good, can you work more, as opposed to, you're very good, can you work less?
But then,
So, yeah.
can we afford this going forward? That's my concern. If we're in this situation this year, then next year, if we can't afford a handyman and the handyman jobs have to come out of the green open spaces money, then it's going to be very difficult to say to somebody who's probably done a really good job, actually, sorry, we can't afford to keep you on.
I think the thing is with the precept increase as well, like based on it, is if it was obvious to people where the precept money was going and why, like, then if anyone looks at it, I mean, to me, I don't know, £15,000 green edge, but it's hard to know what that means. It seems like a significant amount of money, and so it's hard to
Well,
explain
the
to
maintenance
British
contract is on the website, actually. Anybody can see that and see what's been done and
Well, the cost of it,
what the cost.
but what includes, yeah.
So it's nearly £8,000 a year.
Yeah.
for maintenance contract. We
Tree
spend
work.
£4,000 to £5,000 on tree work, and £700 to £800 on the cricket pitch.
So
That's not
stack up.
15,000.
So I'm looking at the 17-18 numbers,
Yeah, so the last few years we haven't
because that's
spent
the last
15,000, so
full year. No, we budgeted higher because there was 2 lots of tree work done in the same year.
Yeah.
So it just landed in.
but this is the budget for next year, so we're going to be doing tree lots of, is that what you mean?
Yeah, but we're going to try and get the 2 lots in the same budgetary. Last year we had the spring work and the autumn work done in the same year, whereas normally we have it done in just 1 year.
Okay.
Don't know if I explained that.
I'm just thinking it's the same amount of work, so when it comes, surely the budget-wise, it should just be spread across however many years it might be.
It would be good to get an understanding, I know it's a work, but just an understanding of where, if you look at a map of the village, where's the effort going, which trees, you know, just a bit of a summary, this is what it costs.
We sat down and-
The tree report.
Yeah, it was a tree report. We discussed
Yeah, I know
it a
that,
few weeks ago.
but it's not just the tree report, this is 8,000 maintenance and things like that, where's it going?
Well, it's only really 2 documents. One is the maintenance contract, which is published, and you just read that and see what's done, how many bits are mowed. There's a company map, so it's split into different areas, so you can see which bits are done. What's left for hay, what's mowed, how many times a year it's mowed, churchyards, stuff like that. It's all in that contract. And then the tree report, we've been through that, priority A, B and C, what's been allocated for voluntary work, has to be done because we're worried about safety, and then other nice to do, which particularly this year we have got some nice to do things, trees which are sort of like cramping each other, taking one out. It is a good thing to do because it's good for the health of the trees rather than all fighting for light. So things like that, but that's all in the tree report.
But the basis is we don't really know how much it's going to cost, do we? So we're budgeting for 15,000. But you know, with
Right,
this.
We've got, let's just put this in, one thing came up in the meetings, we've got one tree which is a very ancient oak, which looks like it's got some disease. Now, we would like to be able to save that oak. There are some things we might want to do, like for instance, you have a tree scanned to see what's going on, so you can diagnose it and sort of work out how to keep the oak going. Trees have been there for hundreds of years. So things like that are things we're thinking about for the coming 12 months. That's just one example.
Yeah, so we are 3,000 short. Bearing in mind, I'd really like to get this sorted tonight because we have to get the precept request in by the 13th of December, 14th of December. I'm going to propose that we do go for 7% increase, and that we look at the handyman services. I think if we drop those hours down to say 2.5 a week, that would not please anybody, but it would show that we're looking at the budget. I think we do need the man, and if we could halve that bill, then that would show something. And there are other bills that do stick out as being potentially some that we could look at. We will have to keep an eye on things as we go through, but I think we could perhaps achieve that if we have the 34 coming in and we've got the 37 going out. But I say we only need to save 10% here and there.
So the things like the bridges and the handyman jobs that can't be included in the green open spaces.
No, because he's already sorted. The green open spaces is actually a fixed contract as we speak. When going forward, we could look at combining it all together, but the contract at the moment is with John to do the areas that we've spoken about, which is why, to some extent, that's why the handyman was only going to be employed on the first instant for a year, and the two would finish at the same time, and then they can review how the system's working. If we can look at the handyman who has applied and see whether he'd be happy just to do 2 hours or maybe 8 hours or 10 hours a month. I mean, from his point of view, it may be more beneficial to work 10 hours a day for a month rather than doing a few hours here and there. But that would certainly halve the budget from his point of view. And I think it would reassure people around the table that we had achieved something. Because I'm mindful that we have to move on a bit.
I'm still of the opinion until the numbers and staff are what we can afford. It's not the right thing to do. That's
So your proposal is to?
either get certain numbers or vote and go against me. I'm fine with that too.
Okay, but have you got something that for tonight? You mean to slash something out, or?
If you want it approved tonight.
Well, what tonight what we need to do is agree the precept. Otherwise, we're going to get to come back,
Okay.
and that would be tight. But we could do that.
Can we delay employing the handyman for say 6 months or something?
We
See
could
how
possibly
the
do it,
finances pan
I mean,
out.
the finances these finances won't come into effect until April. So you're not really achieving much by doing that.
The only thing I'd say is it gives us time to go through it and actually come up with a budget that we can afford.
So sorting out the precept now is the priority.
The priority is a precept.
And then we've got
So I think the bottom line shows us why we need that precept. We can come back at a later date and argue, discuss about handyman, or whatever else we need to slash. I mean,
the context for me, it's not the handyman. I think we're getting stuck on the handyman. The issue is we've got a budget that we can't see on site. The handyman's just an obvious line where it's an increase that we're not spending today. If you can't afford your budget, common sense says don't sign up for another contract that you can't afford.
Yeah.
So I think Sarah made a good point. Until we find an affordable budget, let's not sign up for any new contracts.
Okay.
If we think it's the right thing to do, let's find a way to afford it.
Okay. So are you saying then that you want the finance lot to come back that the income exactly matches the expenditure?
Or it's close enough to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless
Well,
there's a
I
reason why
think
it's
there's a
not
big, you've got to
spending.
have a look at a slightly bigger picture than that, because this has been 1 year where we've got quite a big mismatch. We need time, and the maintenance contract, which is the biggest part of that, is part of this time thing, is to be able to pull it back together again. This is what I'm really trying to say. If we, we can't change this. We can't, you know, I mean, effectively, a lot of this expenditure, apart from having much is committed. So it seems crazy to me to not sign off this. And with it, as long as we've got the intention of trying to pull it back over a period of time, I think that's the best thing we can do at the moment. So in other words, what I'm really saying is...
I think I'd really everything except for that one line that's an expense that we can't have. If we took that out, I'd happily approve it and then wait 6 months to kind of figure out how we budget and do it, whether it be something or something else. So I think we're just a difference of opinion. I understand your point. I'd just approach it differently. That's the way I'd approach it.
Could we approve the precept bit, just taking out the handyman?
Well, the precept is the handyman. Basically, what we've got is a justification as to why the precept is going up, not it's going up, why we're recommending it goes up by 7%. Because the budget is 37,000, and it's so.
If the precept goes up, our income's still 34,600, and our budget's 37.
Yeah.
If the precept doesn't go up, then our income's even, I don't know, what, 32. So £2,000 short.
And you really have to stop.
Is that if we don't put it up by anything, or if we put it up by 3%?
No, we don't put up anything. It's going up by 2 dead.
So what if we put it up by 3%?
That would take you to 29,458.
But in overall, it'd be 32, wouldn't it? Presumably.
Yes.
So it's an even bigger.
So we can come back and debate
Yes,
the
how do you
details of
follow
it.
it?
So shall we just try and move on and, because you've got to go in a minute, haven't you?
That's
2
not
minutes.
half an hour.
Let's keep talking.
Oh,
We'll vote his absence.
Sorry, aren't we just
You can have one, but
deciding
you
on
don't need to wait
precept now? And
The
then
precept
we
is the
can
issue.
come back to the...
I think.
The problem is, it's very difficult to do, it is difficult to do one without the other, because if we were within budget, we wouldn't need to discuss it, raising up the precept. So if we could shave bits off, then we could be like, well, we could just live with increase.
It's
And here it's saying
£286
about in 2 years
per
we're going to reduce things, then maybe we wouldn't need to do 7% now, we could just increase it by...
Well, yeah, but if we were trying to match the outgoings, then I'd say that's right, we probably could make the adjustment over 2 years that way, but we're not, we're only getting halfway, even by filling the precept out. So we need to give ourselves a fighting chance.
The thing is that to have the 7.5%, we've still got to shave off £3,000 from that budget.
Exactly.
And like I said, 1% of the precept is £286. So
Yes.
that isn't really the answer, isn't it? It's contributed, but it's going to take a few years to catch that up.
So on
So
that
are you
basis-
unhappy then with the 7% then? You
I'm
see?
not unhappy with what was
Oh,
just
it's
explained.
Yes, okay. But no, I mean, are you...
Precept won't close you out unless you have a stupid percentage increase on it.
No, exactly. But I mean, I think tonight we can see that the budget could need some shaving to
Needs
make
some
it, or some justification as to how we intend to get nearer to the income. The question really is whether we can come up with an agreed recommendation for our precept. So the recommendation was 7%. I'm getting a feeling that maybe some people wish to increase it less.
Well, I'm thinking that we haven't, I know we haven't increased it to the full recommended amount.
In the
It's not
past.
just last year, it's not.
I think we
2 or
did
3
last year,
years.
when we did the recommendation last year.
We haven't done a deep long time.
Last year, I just remember we did whatever the county council, whoever it is.
We
said.
haven't done it since I've been councillor.
No, we've always gone with the...
Yeah, the
Basic
recommendation.
minimum, yeah.
Oh, actually, might have been at the one place now.
It's
Well, it's 1.9.
Yes, it's not very small. So on that basis, my sense is 7% is doable.
It's not, I mean, it's a lot in 1 year, but if you look at it over
Sounds more than
the
it
6
is.
years...
So, and just to reiterate this, when you see us in the league table, we've got this massive responsibility of this 27
Sure.
acres and the other things in the village we want to do, and yet you compare us to other parish councils, we're really way down the table.
I think because our history shows we haven't shoved up the precept overly, then, okay, this is a hit, I'm afraid, but it's good.
So I'm going to propose that we put in a put in a request for a 7% precept, and we'll review the budget later on. But so that's my proposal. I need a seconder for that.
I'll second.
Ian seconding. Can I have a vote as to how many are happy for a 7% increase? Okay, that's 6, 7. Good, okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine. And with a, we will need to, sorry, I think we're going to have to delay the handyman based on.
Well, this is a different thing, isn't it?
Well,
So basically what you're asking, if I understand this correctly, is for the finance group to come back with a balanced budget.
I think
Yes,
so.
that's
I
right.
think
So what I'm saying to me is
yes,
to delay him in terms of the fact we
Well,
can't
we
employ
do.
him.
Or a reason why it's
Yes. So what I'm saying is that we
Not
had,
to
I
put
think
it
there is a
now
reason
because
for
we
that.
don't know yet.
So you accept it?
but the thing is that we had a deadline of the 30th of November for the handyman. I think it would be polite to say we're having a few issues. Bear with us.
Yeah.
We've
I think we've
got
been
to go
transparent
back.
now, we're having an affordability issue, we
Yes.
just want to see if we can avoid it.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
don't want
How
to
much-
take
how
you on
much
and give you a
does it-
commitment and 2 months later, say sorry, we can't afford to pay
Could
you.
you work for a year? Then we'll see how it goes.
And I think it would be even worse if he or she made a really good job of
Yeah,
being a handyman, and then we had to say, actually,
handy
no,
person.
we can't
Man,
We
every
can't-
mankind.
carry on
Yeah.
affording you
Yeah.
to pay you.
Okay.
Can I just ask one thing when you do this? Can we get a better breakdown on the expenditure between open spaces? Can we break it down to tree work, to grass cutting, so it's
Yeah,
clear?
but if you ask me to do that, I would point you towards the maintenance contract.
I know, but it's in the budget.
Which we've seen already.
If it's in there, can we just break it down to budget?
Yeah, sure.
It just makes it easier to work out where we can potentially.
Okay. Right.
So the proposal is?
The proposal is that we request a 7%.
Yeah, no, I've got that, about taking back to finance committee.
Proposal is that it goes to the finance committee. Can I have a seconder for that? And seconding, all in favour? Yeah, just a few slow hands are going up there, but reluctant hands went up.
I'm not actually sure whether to abstain or.
Well, I was looking at somebody else whose hand went up very slowly. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Tough, but it's a tough issue, so that's good. Right, bit light now. Well, it's not. I thought we were I thought we were to 138. We're on 136. Tubes. Right. Now, they're sort of running at £200. We are getting results. Because last time I was concerned that we weren't at the, that we needed to check the information we were getting was of benefit to the powers that be that we were presenting it to.
So we're in the process with the working group for the traffic of
Brilliant. Yes.
going through the hoops of the order of requirements to that we need to follow in order to proceed with this TRO application that we've discussed at the last meeting. And so we're kind of, there's a document that's got like a breakdown, a workflow of like what you need to do, so what the parishioners need to do, what data you need to collect. So we're in the process of being in contact with various people within the county council and relevant organisations about exactly what they need for each of the steps, what data they require, like what all of these different points mean, and what work needs to be done in order to get there. So we've got another meeting on Wednesday where we're going to be reviewing the information that's been obtained about that. So one of those things was to do with data collection and the number of vehicles passing and the I can't recall the
Speeds, flows, numbers.
So I would hazard to guess that any pollution data that we get towards that would be beneficial, but I haven't looked in detail at the requirements for that.
Is this meeting as a result of when the parishioners coming around for the lorry launch?
Yes, we've had one meeting already, and
Yeah.
we've got another meeting later this week.
Okay.
You might find pointed out we haven't actually got diffusion tubes in the budget.
This
This is for this year. I presume. Do you know when they restart?
When they were started.
When they restart? The request is that we carry on with diffusion tubes. Presumably we're talking about in the near future.
Actually, yeah, we're not in the budget.
Yeah, just for the line of zero, I think.
It's line zero, yeah.
Because the request, presumably, I mean, where's this request come from? It says here.
The last Councillor Meeting.
Hmm?
You at the last council.
Always one, isn't there?
What I said.
Right, hands in pockets time, diffusion tubes.
So what's the requirement then? I mean, I quite thought that
This
someone
is monitoring, isn't it?
Yeah, I know that makes sense. But I presume that we're running out of, we've used up the tubes to date, and therefore we need to put more tubes in.
No, they keep being replaced, that's what we keep paying for.
Right, okay. So when do they finish? And is this for X years, X months' time?
Well, it seems to just be rolling on, they keep
Right, so we
keep
basically-
getting an invoice,
Right,
keep paying it.
okay. So it's basically, it's a rolling contract at the moment, we need to just make sure that...
I don't have the original contract or any of the original
Right.
emails that set it up, but I would presume so based on the way we're being invoiced.
Something we need to look into, really, isn't it? Okay. Well, based on that, I think we have to continue, aren't we?
I mean, I think so. I think we need to maybe look at a place in the budget for this type of thing. Like diffusion tubes is a line on the budget with zero, but if the traffic work is something that we are committed to doing something about, which has been an ongoing issue with the parishioners at meetings ever since I've been in, what we're doing about it. We have, Ian Bates is right, we haven't got any money in here for any LHI bids or any of those sorts of applications. We haven't got any for anything to do with the traffic. I know we're talking about cutting the budget, but it's just something to consider. We haven't got anything in there for any.
Yeah.
Am I not right in saying that when we initially put these in, there was an element of let's take a reading now over a period of time and then compare it post the opening of the new A14?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think it's before I've joined, but...
That's what I thought we did. And as such, we've had 2 years' data, which I thought was a very good baseline.
Yeah.
So now the idea is to, I thought, to stop until the new A14 was in place, and then possibly to reintroduce
Oh,
it.
so it's only half the end of it, isn't it?
That's better.
That's, in some ways, you could be right, because it could, the bit that's coming next week may
Yeah.
actually confuse things.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Well, exactly.
Because it's a halfway house.
Yeah.
You get a partial completion.
Yes,
So
then it could be duff information, couldn't it?
it's very difficult.
Okay.
Well, so that was my understanding of the dialogue at the time. It was connected, it wasn't so much just the B1040, it was the total nitrous oxide in the area. And that was related to the A14 as much as anything.
The meetings that you're having, are they in the village hall?
No, we just use in the pub and hide in a corner.
I think the question comes back, what are we trying to achieve by doing this? I think we understand that. And then what information do we need to your point? It's a snapshot in time, which we've got reasonable data from now, and then a snapshot in the future. You don't necessarily need to keep it in the middle of it, it's just, it might just be confusing.
Yeah, I'm happy to order
How
that.
much are we talking about?
Well, it's varied. It's supposed to be 200, possibly 290. It has been 190. Cost in 2018 was 228, so it's 200-ish, plus or minus. But I would propose then that we don't continue, that we will bring it back on the agenda when the new A14 is up and running, which will be in a year's time. Can I have a second to that, please? Are you seconding? All in favour? There's 2 of us. Okay. So what's an alternative proposal then?
Because I don't think we've got enough information yet. have we?
No, I think it's almost,
Okay.
don't
Well,
approve it,
that's
don't approve it now.
That's even easier then.
Don't approve it now,
The
let's get some information about why we should.
Okay.
If there's information out there that says we should carry on for a reason, let's get it.
Okay.
And we need
Can
to
I ask then that your next
Yeah.
meeting, you find out what's going on?
We need
A
more
report back to
info
us in February.
also about
Yeah.
the stages of opening the 14, so we know what we're measuring.
Because there's various comments in here about the fact that the meeting is going ahead and they're discussing signage, and I'm pretty sure the Parish Council hasn't been told, so if there is something happening at the meeting, you need to...
We haven't got a parish council meeting since the meeting, so...
Oh, okay, it's just that I'm being told that we should be aware of
That's
it.
because Ian
How
was
would be aware?
attending at the meeting, so I don't know how he thought you'd be aware.
Exactly,
Had a
yeah.
meeting
No,
soon.
I will be aware. Okay, so if you have any meeting soon, if you could make some notes, and then we'll be meeting in February, so
Yeah.
keep us informed.
Yeah,
It's on the back burner.
A lot of it's
Okay.
information gathering at the moment in terms of what we can do and what we
Yes.
should do. And
So, bearing in mind that you might get an invoice between now and February, do you think we'll?
Possibly. We have one last, it seems to be quarterly.
Yeah, well, last month. So,
I would expect one in January.
so if we have one in January,
Up to December.
do you want us to pay it?
Well, it depends whether they're paying the invoices are coming for the future or for work that's already been done, because we can't not pay it.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back and find out what we agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well-
If we made an obligation, we need to pay it,
The
and then,
no
but I think we need to be clear moving forward until we've got clarity,
Yes.
let's pause.
Yes, no, it's taken from 2017. It was not to, it was for indefinite period.
I'll find out.
They measure just nitrogen oxide, is that right?
Yeah.
So it's only diesel fumes, not petrol.
Ah,
It's only diesel.
so
Petrol's thing.
have you seen the figures? Would you be our independent expert?
I have
Because we did-
a fair amount of knowledge of diesel emissions,
Yeah.
but not petrol.
Because I think probably one of the meetings where you weren't here, we did get the reports.
Yes, we do.
So can we ask that you send to Bob?
Mhm.
And then he can ask one of his people to run through it and see who the information is on it.
There's people.
I mean, in all seriousness, we discussed it before and we said, it's nice.
But doesn't
Yeah.
this mean us to?
Yes, but if we can have an expert look over it and then just tell us if it's information that's useful or
You're gonna look.
Actually, I
brilliant.
think
Great, thank you.
the pollution is going to get slightly worse after next Monday, because there'll be loads of traffic coming through Manchester, won't there, to get onto the new A14, because the section of the A14 is being closed from Manchester to the Marriott hospitals. So we are going to have people doing rat runs through Hilton Mall.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard to know.
Oh my God, they will.
Okay.
Because you're going to cut out that, you know, they're going to have to go up through Manchester or Brampton to get onto the A14.
They go west. They can't go east from
And
there.
that's the worry, because they can't go east, whether they come through Hilton to get to the
Yeah,
old
through
A14.
Hilton.
I think that's the real
They
problem.
have to go.
Yeah.
Until the road's reopened in
It'll
2022.
never be the same, because it's never, to go east, you always have to get on the old A14, which means all traffic from Paddington across will come through Hilton. It's the
So I
obvious
think-
way across.
Yeah.
I think it is quite crucial to monitor whether whether these emissions are going up as they do this next phase.
Well, they're not on a daily basis, of course. They're changed every 3 months or so. So we won't, unfortunately, we won't see a spike
Every
on
month.
Monday.
Oh, every month.
So, yeah, we won't see a spike on Monday.
Okay, so we need to.
But maybe the group needs to think about some.
The more interesting with the A14 half the distance away, what the impact will be.
Well, I think you'll know on Monday morning.
Well,
I think it might be something, depending on whether we
I
know.
make from the pollution.
Oh, okay, sorry, yes. But I mean, there comes a time when you have to start doing something more than just writing.
Okay. We will
So, yeah.
pick that up on Wednesday.
Okay.
And it is a hot potato, hot topic with the parishioners, isn't it? So it's
We'll need to carry on a week.
So but again, remember, you're not measuring traffic, and actually most modern trucks are really not efficient. They've got second.
Okay, my request is that the traffic group come back with more information ASAP, which will be first
Yeah.
meeting in February.
Well,
And
we can send it to you before that. so
Well, we
can
can't
general-
act on. Yeah, I mean, I would.
You can't act
Yeah,
on it.
Please
You can
do
just be
keep
aware.
informed. Yes. Happy to meet them, but we did say that
Yeah.
we would find you to meet in the. Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, is it
Can't afford it for
Is there enough solace enough?
suggesting
Okay,
things.
fair enough. I would hate to take business away from other people.
Okay.
So but in the meantime, if we do get an invoice for a tube, I think we're going to have to pay it.
Yes.
yeah.
But we will bear it in mind and review it with more information. So that's a proposal that it comes in the meantime, we will pay it. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Kieran, seconding it. All in favour? We.
Thank you very
Right,
much.
thank you. Right, now we come to Light and Fluffy. Opening event for the new playground. So we have nothing booked in terms of dates or anything. I've been reliably told that the Brownies are out and about on the 14th, so they won't be around. and we've got a feast week due on the 14th. I mean, I think one of the things is the compound will need something visual, won't they?
Yeah.
They'll want some flags and people and red, sorry.
It's the funding.
The funding people.
It's the funding people.
Yes.
more than compound.
Yes, so you just need some children there to hold some flags and be happy.
I have to say, I went to visit a few weeks ago, and there were 3 other families, 2 groups of children on their own. I've never seen as many people there in the last 2 years as I've been so
Fantastic.
it was
It's
really
like
good.
a good place for them.
One young boy said it was sick, which
Yeah.
I'm informed is a good thing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, we did some work there on Saturday, and one of them said 8 out of 10. Pretty,
Yeah,
pretty cool.
but one of the others said 100 out of 10. So.
Yeah, no, this is wrong with maths problems. So, Laura, you were personally involved with its instigation. Do you wish to sort of, I mean, have you got any sort of ideas of what springing on you? I mean, we just need some sort of visual to that. I presume it has to be this year, does it? In terms of finance and...
The grant has to be done by March.
Oh.
It's the actual deadline of the grant.
We did suggest a completion date on the funding application in December though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would be good to tie up this year.
It would.
And then they're like making an announcement that it's open because people have sort of started using it, but
But you
it's
can see
not
that
Nobody's
it's
really sure that it's
We
open.
have an immediate point, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got to do a meeting thing
Do
once
some coverage,
it's.
yeah.
Mm. Which there's not that many weekends. It'll either be this weekend or it will be Sunday next weekend. Which is the got a
Let's
feast
put
week
it
on
on
the 14th.
Sunday the 15th when
Yeah.
the feast week party's here on the
14th.
14th. We can
Yes.
make an announcement at the end. You know,
Yes.
please come to the playground in the morning.
Yeah.
We're doing the grand opening. We could.
Will you be having any drinks at the 14th? Could we sort of...
Yes.
Can we take your drinks away that you don't want?
Wicked.
I'm thinking about mulled wine and stuff that you don't want because...
No, we don't have
Okay.
stock of mulled wine. It all went at the bonfire night.
There's the other thing, I mean... So,
Can buy more.
well, that's
The
the other
Parish
thing.
Council
That's
can
the
buy
other
more.
thing, isn't it? Do we give ourselves a budget? I mean, I was thinking of £50.
That's the thing with all of these things where we talk, it's just that's the budget. We do sometimes have these little. Where does
Absolutely.
all that come up? Like, does
Yes.
that
We
come out
speak
of
to the supplier and say,
January?
didn't you do well out of this contract? Would you like the support and we'll give you
Provide
something as
some
a
It's-
advertising
It's possible.
with your support? That's how business works, right?
I mean, it's only 1%.
Because if had the contract been done now.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
I
but
mean,
they want ongoing work. and
we can
they
invite
want
along,
to
can't we?
I'm sure.
I mean, we could run along and we'll make lots of noises about them and we won't comment negatively, but it's something we can bear in mind. But I mean, there will be an expenditure, otherwise it'd be very dull. It'd be very dull event if we sit around and rip and roll, which is good.
Our ribbon.
Can you someone to cut the ribbon,
Yes.
make a speech?
I mean, do we have a particular person, a famous person locally who could do it? Or, I mean, I'm thinking that you could have a raffle, and therefore the child who won could cut the ribbon. I mean, that might be something to use.
Is there a local mayor I could ask?
Well, yes, we could ask.
Jonathan, do you have any?
Oh, well, please go. That won't be that well.
And what about?
Don't know any
David?
local celebrities, I
James
don't know.
Palmer's
so-
the mayor of the combined. He's the mayor of the combined authority.
I know, why don't we do a little competition for children to do a drawing of the playground, so really colourful, and the winner gets to open it.
And you're going to judge it. Which one's the best drawing?
Just watch out on the timings.
Yeah, I was
We're
gonna say,
talking about
we've got
doing it
very
in
long.
December. We got less than a fortnight.
Oh,
I prefer to go for just raffle or something and just, if a child's given a number,
What about the vicar?
yeah, you could ask him.
That's not bad.
On a Sunday, he'd be around, wouldn't he?
Busy day.
What is he doing?
There,
Depends what
Can't
time,
we
we
work
could get him after or before a service, couldn't we?
If he's actually here.
Yeah.
Could bring the wine.
Being girlfriend.
So do we have a sort of, a general sort of feeling that 15th is on? 15th is a Sunday, is that okay?
I've got folk coming to me, so.
Okay, or you can just look at the dates and just wait for us.
Echo.
We could actually, yeah, we could.
And can I set an expenditure, say £50? Would you be happy to do that, if you had to?
What time of day are you proposing doing this?
Well, it would need to be sort of lunchtime, afternoon, wouldn't it? because it gets dark quite.
Yeah,
soon.
it's also the Methodists having their carol service that evening.
Oh, okay,
5
which is
o'clock.
5 o'clock. So
Yeah.
we need to finish 1, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock? If we had 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock, I guess.
Because it won't take long, will it?
No, it shouldn't.
Do you and I want to look around so you can
Could we
find?
make it 2:30?
Two.
This time,
Charlie.
2:30.
I heard you, just didn't laugh.
That wasn't me.
Do you, 2:30 preferable to 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah, lunch?
Yeah.
You think you'd finish by, half an hour, finish by 3, won't we?
Yeah, it's not going to be.
Weather pending or not?
I think we've just got to go for it.
Gotta go for it.
Do
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
I'm sure we can bring our children between us.
Yeah.
You can ask the
Got
press
a
to
few
come
now.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want the press.
Yeah,
That's
well,
fine.
that's what
We
we
have
were
to
saying.
invite them, whether they'll come, but we have to, yeah, I have sent the early press releases to them.
Okay. But as long as we
And
keep,
this slow news week.
as long as we kept record of it.
And they like jolly and
Well,
yeah, kids.
Pencil it in, 2:30, 15th. If you have any wacky ideas or wise ideas, send them into Nicola. In return, she'll send them to me.
How are we advertising that we're doing this?
Or Facebook, we can have normal,
Yeah.
normal ways.
Notice boards, website.
And Facebook,
No.
and feeding party.
I'll put notice on at the park, might be appropriate.
Yes. This park is now closed.
Yeah,
until
until
the
Grand
15th. Oh, really? Look after it. Okay.
Okay, so we've got a lot of suggestions of 30 years old.
Not many. This is,
Okay.
my proposal is,
Solving.
look,
Do everything I've just said.
I will do everything I said. I'll look after it with the clerk, and it's going to be on the 15th. It's going to be 2:30. We will spend up to £50, and that is what I'm asking.
What about who is going to cut the ribbon?
We don't know.
Do that.
We'll have to ask. I'm in favour of a random child, because otherwise you've got to pick a child,
Yeah.
which is jolly hard work.
We could just draw.
We can have several children. We can have some comedy scissors.
The cardboard ones, obviously.
Well, yeah. I mean, 2 children, trying to get to working coordination, there's no chance. But you're going to leave it with us, because otherwise, I say, if you email us,
Happy to delegate that
ideas,
to you guys.
yeah. But even if you have any ideas, email it. But I say, otherwise, you have to choose a child, which is like really hard, isn't it? I think we're going to have to just get as many. The thing is that a child who you pick might not turn up. I think you just need to try and get all the children there, give them a magic number, and literally just pull it out of the hat.
Yeah. Oh, just when everyone arrives, yeah.
Yes.
Just give them a ticket as they
Yes.
turn up.
Yes.
We can grab some tickets from somewhere.
Yeah. We can make some big coins.
Lovely.
Anyway, okay.
So you will have a proposal.
I have a proposal. Seconder, please.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, Anne. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's second?
Well, Anne put her hand up,
Anne
but
seconded.
she said it. Yes. And then all in favour of that sort of general outline?
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Good. Right. Discuss and decide upon the signs at the forward. This has been going for a few months. Batting,
Council decided on.
well, we decided where we wanted it. County Council said they didn't want it where we wanted it.
So I did see that response.
And now they're saying they want it where they want it. I'm going to, well, discuss.
I'd say I agree with their one point about the ice, because when you come through the ford, you can't, it's the icy all the way up to that road, so in the winter months it would be a dangerous turn, but that's one comment.
Well, I would also say that there's ice everywhere on roads. I mean, I walked this morning because whatever, it's jolly icy something. And it almost is worse,
It's
but
out the ford though, isn't it?
it is,
Around that bend, just
but
from
also
half farm.
you notice it's there because of whatever, yeah. I think anybody who's cycling this weather is brave.
We wanted it where we suggested, because if you come up to High Street and turn right, you won't see the sign at all if you had it where they wanted it to be. Where they're proposing, they seem to have missed that.
I thought we'd
Oh, yeah,
mentioned
coming
that
out
to them
that
when
way.
they were out
It
here.
was on the sheet.
I think we've come up with a good compromise. I mean, they're welcome to put it on any of the existing posts, because there are 3 posts that they could put them on the wrong side of the road. Officially wrong side of the road, but cyclists travel slower, so there's more chance to see the sign. There's It's not like you're whizzing past in the car and what was that? You know, so I mean, I really would prefer to go back and just say, you're welcome to put it where we said, but that's it.
Why don't we sit
Yeah,
down?
okay, that's my proposal. Can I second that, please? Keep seconding it, all in favour?
Sorry, you're proposing that I respond to them and say...
And say, as previously, you're welcome to put the sign where we suggested in our map. Alternatively, you can put it on any of the existing posts on the green. Okay. Suggest that we ask nicely for an extension. We can write back to them and say, no, we haven't declared an emergency yet. Or we can just say, we support you in reasonable measures, or we can wait for an extension. Well, exactly. We're not going to see it until...
But can we not have a subgroup or something that is tasked with looking at what we say and responding? If we just agree in principle now, then...
You won't be able to respond without coming full council. Not you, the working group won't be able to respond. But in the working group, look into it.
You can't delegate to a working group.
No. So the working group can do a favour.
No, delegate to a committee or an officer.
Yeah.
Set up a committee.
Yeah.
Climate emergency committee.
That
That's it.
sounds dramatic, doesn't it?
Well, it is dramatic.
It is.
Come on, it's climate emergency. It's dramatic.
Because if they don't give us an extension, then we can't participate,
So basically,
Without any,
which is not good enough.
It's a very short
It is.
period of
Yeah, it
Christmas
is.
as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, why don't I suggest we go back and say that we understand and
Very keen to
we will
respond.
support in whatever way we can, but you need to give us more time.
Bearing in mind the 31st is a Friday, we meet on the Monday,
But if,
and then 3 days later.
Yeah, they're not doing anything over the weekend with it, are they?
but still, if we meet on the Monday, are we going to have a response? Because we haven't.
Well, it's coming out in December. So we would, as a group, be able as a group, we will be able to look at it individually for a month, all over January.
Teddy Barn.
Zero.
I mean, what we could do is we could ask somebody or a group or whatever to formulate a response to bring before the council.
Or recommend.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I mean. That would be better
Yes.
because otherwise we'll sit here at a meeting going, oh,
Yeah,
what's
that's
in
right,
with
they'll write
strategy
something,
and like,
yeah.
oh,
Yes. But as I said, the working group would have to bring it back to the council with a recommendation. And then we would request extension to the end of that week, which would be the 6th, 5th. So
No,
7.
you're right.
whatever.
Seven.
The Friday.
Yeah, so
The Friday of that week. Is that okay?
Friday.
Request extension to the end of the week. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then based on that being granted, can I have a,
So two things, isn't it? Set up a work group.
Yep. well, if they don't give an extension,
Oh, yeah.
it's pointless having a working group.
You can't form a working group without doing it at a meeting.
That's right, I'm saying, yeah. So I'm saying, based on the fact they give us an extension tonight, we can say, if we get an extension, who's in the working group? Which would be at least 3, 4. Can I have a show of hands as to who would like to do it?
Who would like to be convener?
Yes? I can convene it. I can convene it.
I'll agree with you.
Ian's convene it.
Okay.
4. Stop. Fine. Okay. So Anne,
Yeah, I'm happy
Kieran,
to.
Ian and self.
I'm a human.
Brilliant. So we'll have a look at it over Christmas and I'll convene a meeting sometime in January.
Okay, that's fine.
Excellent.
No
Something to
problem.
look forward to.
Yes. When you're sitting at eating Christmas. Okay, that's good. Right, so we've done that. Discuss and vote upon the Parish Council response to the consultation regarding Cambridge and Peterborough's minimal waste local plan.
Sorry, who seconded that proposal?
Everybody did. Oh no, Ian did. Ian seconded.
Ian,
Yes.
actually.
Yes. And then everyone's in favour.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Fine, okay.
Mineral.
This is the mineral one. Now,
So, did you look into, has everybody gone on the website? and
Yep.
Look at what all this is?
nearest one is in Leadingworth, isn't it? potentially?
Nearest what?
The nearest hashed line with mineral extraction.
No.
No?
There's one near
Oh,
the
yes.
chicken farm.
Yes, okay, but that's small.
Oh, yeah.
That's tiddly. So I'm talking about the one where you actually see it. I suppose we see it, yes. Yes,
But I'll size that. But,
yeah, it's true, I agree.
it's been 2 acres, 3 acres.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And half the village is a preserved minerals thing, what do they call it? Protected.
Yes. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, the phrase they used.
And when did what response by? I can't remember.
January the 9th.
Yeah,
Okay.
11:59.
So,
And
short.
within the HCV group, we've been reviewing it in terms of, I think this is one, in terms of making sure that the transport arrangements from this minerals
Exactly.
waste extraction is clearly
Not
outlined what that responsibilities will be.
Yes.
I could look back at the minutes from there, I can't remember exactly what.
But I think that's short. I mean, we can't go into detail about whether the extraction is necessary and how the extraction is done.
No.
I think all we can do is do what we can to ensure, because if you look at the routes, it does look like the 1040 is quite a convenient way of coming south.
Absolutely,
Definitely.
especially from the energy
Yes,
Definitely.
it's quite a way round it, isn't it?
line. Yeah.
So I think we need to come up with a robust letter which says, I'd be mindful of it not just being Hilton, that any extraction licence is granted on the condition that shipping is done on main roads or...
How are we going to do this then? Because we're going to go in time again, haven't we?
Well, we can formulate a letter, myself and Nicola, if you let us do a...
Delegate meeting.
yes.
Okay.
But if you agree that that's what we want to do, is just say...
It's a traffic movement.
Yeah.
Keep
I mean,
it.
do you want us to put it general, small villages, or limit it to main routes, or do you want us to put Hilton shouldn't be affected?
I think it should be more Hilton-centric.
Yes, definitely, I agree with that.
I think it's a bit NIMBY-ish.
Well, it can, yeah, but we're Hilton Parish Council,
Yes,
we're representing the parish.
Yes, it's true. Yeah,
Yeah, and we've already got a number of traffic issues
Yes.
logged.
okay. Is it worth us saying that we are in the process of getting a TRO?
Well, I don't know if that can say we're in the process, but
We're in the process of formulating
we're
one,
in the process of.
exploring.
I mean, I think we should definitely probably refer to things like the local transport plan, which
Yeah.
clearly, strategy and stuff, which clearly says they don't want to have an impact on local communities and all those sorts of things.
Yes,
Like we
yes,
refer
we saw
to those
last time.
plans that already exist.
There's
and
the
then-
combined authority one, and
That's
there's
the-
HDC one.
Mhm.
We'll tell you how wonderful that is going to be.
Yes, effect on communities.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we'll formulate a letter based on transportation of
If
the...
I can, I'll try and get hold of HCB's response if you would like. Then I can see what
Yeah.
they said and
Yeah.
get back on that.
Because we've got until the 9th January, which is a month, but yeah.
I've been a bit cynical thinking that this is sort of bad news they're trying to bury quickly.
We're just digging it up.
I'm pulling it out at this time of year.
Oh.
The parish council needs,
Yeah. And it's a document, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay. But I say we need to sort of focus on the things that we know will affect us, and we understand. You okay with that?
So you are proposing that?
I'm proposing that. Is anyone going to second that?
You're proposing that?
That you and I formulate a letter restricting or requesting that traffic movements are elsewhere than Hilton. I think it's a better word than that. Yes, yeah. I think you know what I mean. And that will be submitted by the 9th of January on their website. Can I have a seconder for that, please?
Yeah.
And second, all in favour? Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay. Right, item 142, discuss and decide upon the Parish Council's response to the survey regarding the CCC's voluntary community capacity building partnership with Peterborough City Council. Now, this is a request for a survey to be completed, so I'm assuming that the Parish Council could ask the clerk to complete The survey?
Have you seen the survey?
No.
It's kind of subjective.
Oh.
They're asking for opinions on things which there might be around this room, different responses to that, to some of the questions.
Oh, I see, they're not fact.
They're not.
They're not how many residents have you got?
No, no. Some of them are, but there are some more subjective questions.
Like would you like it?
Like about, would you like to see more developments that affect your community and that kind of thing? So, I'm not sure whether that's developments as in housing or
No,
developments
it's
as in, so there's more subjective.
It's something that we don't know.
Something we don't know.
Or could we, I mean...
And you're judging your answers not very, not at all. So.
Is there another box that says we haven't discussed this?
Well, is it possible for each of us to have a look at it and just give some views?
Well, no, because then we would have to come up with a conclusion, wouldn't we? Because we all, if it's subjective, we all have different opinions, and then someone's got to decide. And also, we're not discussing it in public, are we? Alternatively, is it for individuals?
Well,
Was it just
Well,
parish
it's
councils?
asking, well, the second question is, what body do you represent?
That's right, I've got that far of it. Stop and, oh, it's got to be board.
Page 1 was easy, page 2 was...
Well, alternatively, then we just do it as a parish council, and then we only answer questions we know are fact. Or we pass it on, so we put it on the website and say this is... That might be the way of doing it.
The other thing is, I read it several times and I couldn't figure out what some of the questions meant. So, I think maybe there's some back reading you have to do on some of this.
Okay.
Shame we don't have Wi-Fi here, we could just do it.
Well, yeah, we didn't have to discuss each question, wouldn't we?
Sure.
I've got 4G.
Yeah, I'm just logging on to it now.
I haven't got anything. I've tried to hotspot, but
Do you want to try it?
I've
How
got
many
3G
pages?
and I've got it.
4 pages.
4 pages, how many questions per page?
Well, it says it's going to take 10 minutes to do, but I don't
It's
think...
more than that. If we've got to discuss every question, it's going to take longer than that. I'm of a mind to say that it's a difficult survey. Parish councils are unable to complete it.
I don't know, how many questions are in total? There's all high importance, medium importance or low importance that you've got to choose. Yeah, the questions are quite long.
My sense is that you two could make a good go at it, and if you between you decide there's only one question we can answer, well, that's fine, so be it.
Well, we would only be able to answer fact. Like,
Yeah.
how big is your parish? How many whatever? Do you have so and so? Yeah.
It's difficult
There's a
because,
lot of questions.
like some of the questions, like question 13 is what do you see as the opportunities and risks of a single Cambridgeshire and Peterborough service?
Well,
That's a big question.
That's the kind of question where I thought,
Is
what
Is there
service?
anything else you'd like to add? Finish that. So there are only 14 questions, but they are really long.
Each one's got about 7 points in it.
Yes, and you can put medium, high or low.
To know something about the service that's already there to answer it properly. Well,
Can we not get back in touch with them and say, we need a bit more time to do this, or somebody come and tell us what you're talking about? Or?
Very relevant.
It's really short. It's time span, 13th of December.
well, it's been going since early November.
Has it?
Well, is it the 7th of November?
Well, this is our first meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to-
They've given you a website here to contact, so maybe we could do the same thing, contact them and ask for some time.
We need lots of time, wouldn't we?
we're talking about funding in February.
That's something on meetings, is it?
I don't know.
I've got another proposition. Why don't we just suggest that one of us fills it in
You could,
As an individual.
we can all fill it as individuals,
But you
Any-
can't.
but you can't put parish council. In fact, the parish, we could put it in as parish council for fact, if there are any fact questions, and then individuals can put it in. I mean, are they after individuals?
I don't know, because it says which organisation, group or organisation. It does say whether you're a registered charity, charitable group, community interest company, local council. It doesn't say individual. Really.
No,
It does
okay.
have an other, but
Because they're assuming it's,
I give in.
yeah, I'm going to give it as well. Okay. I'm going to propose then, we shall be. Can I have a proposal is that we do nothing? Is anyone going to second me on that one?
Bearing in mind the complexity of it, that's the
Right,
right.
it's good.
Okay, I've got a seconder and Ian. Anybody wish to do nothing?
Yeah, because I feel
Okay.
it myself.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Great. Very much. That's good. Extra week for a bit more manageable. Right. 143. Discuss and decide upon request from Fenstanton and Hilton Primary School PTA for a raffle prize. Now,
Isn't that nice?
I don't want to say too much. Well, did we get any response from
Yes,
TT?
no, thank you.
No, thank you.
It's not the sort of thing we
Ooh.
It's
Because our
Town
request, what
Yeah.
suggestion was that we go to Town Trust, but it's interesting how they don't do that. And I think it's something we're going to have to bounce back as well, because it's not something we do.
No,
So,
and I think if we do agree to it, it's going to open the floodgates of lots of
yeah,
I
okay.
think we already said no
Charities.
to Easter egg, didn't we?
We did. Which was more local, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So the proposal is, we write in the very last letter thanking us for, thanking the applicant for request for their interest, but it's not something that we are able
Have them
to
free
support.
use of the football
Playground.
pitch on the green.
Not free.
We don't really have anything to offer as a prize, do we? It's like not really enough company that can just give something away. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to, it would be a direct cost, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They would, and bearing in mind the budget,
That's the lack of, yeah, okay. That's the proposal, we say no thank you. Can I second that, please? And Sharon saying second. All in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, that's good. Right, payments received. Feast Week, donation towards playground, that's right, Carnarvon, 225. Feast Week utilities payment, that'll be the Feast Week pavilion, presumably?
Yes.
Pavilion, yeah. The interest, this was the closing interest we had from the Barclays Bank account, which is now stopped. Firework takings, 1383, bit down, but weather, who knows, it was a good event. Valuation report reimbursement. Ooh, ooh.
Check from Copley's.
This was when we had the report for the easement, so that's been paid, so that's good. So we're now, that's good. And a Microsoft refund of £6.64.
Yeah, with a to and fro, and they ended up billing us, and then they couldn't refund us the same amount, they refunded us more, and so we've ended up £6.64 up.
Excellent. That's very lovely. Okay, so you've got in front of you the request, or the payments to be approved. JSC, Ecotricity, Clerk, Sydney Fencing, Atlas Tree Surgery. This was for grinding the stuff to get the benches down, which looks pretty good at the moment, isn't it? And then we've got the wood packs bench, which Nicola mentioned earlier, so they need to be attached at some point. Microsoft, turf and gravel, which we spread down last weekend.
Looks very good.
Weekend before.
Sorry, what are the wood packs for the bench?
10 days ago.
So
Last weekend.
the benches at the playground, Wicksteed ones, we've purchased the wood to replace them. Wicksteed do, I didn't think that. Wicksteed do just the bench pack, so you buy the replacement wood and it just pops onto the metal frame.
Oh, right.
So it's it.
Good idea. We talked about it last meeting.
So-
Yeah, it was approved by the council before I spent that sort of.
We've got the wood, we just need some decent weather to do it. But it'd be nice to do it before the playground's open, but I'll look at my mate Ian and see.
Oh, for the existing
Yeah.
benches?
It's too little.
Sorry.
They need to be tidied up. What's that to Kira's workshop? What are you about?
Yeah.
Madeline mulch is there, so that's fine. So, are you all happy with what's
Yes.
down there?
I
Okay. Right, I'm going to propose that they're all approved. Have a seconder, please. Okay, Ian seconding. All in favour? Brilliant. That's very kind of you. And you still have afterwards and we should be signing now, but we don't. last week, do we?
No.
We signed the invoices.
You have to sign the invoices, and I've also put a different payment sheet so you can double check that into the correct amount to Unity Trust. So there's extra for you to sign as well.
So the whole point was it's supposed to be make it work. Okay. Right. Council's items. Sharon. Got nothing.
I just wanted to say,
It's timing.
thank you to everyone for their help for bonfire night. And I felt actually, considering the weather, it was actually really quite a good event. So, and just for the record, we did have a request to move the bonfire in case of any animals nesting underneath. So we did actually do that.
That explains why more damage.
So it was requested by a parishioner in case there were hedgehogs or likewise, and there was actually a huge toad under that bonfire, so we did
Can you back my
rescue
home?
it, and I put it into a pond.
No.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Ian.
No.
Did you have?
Oh,
Anything else, Chris?
Okay, now
Are
what's
you going to
going on?
update?
well, unfortunately, I'm unable to.
Well, you can tell him that about John, can't you? You were the last person to. You took the card in, didn't you?
I took the card.
Because people
yes.
here wouldn't necessarily know.
No, I did. I put an email
So
around.
I've had an email.
Well, as long as you don't say too much, we're just concerned that it's on video, so don't give us too much information.
No, this is true.
But
Yes.
John's.
Well, he was progressing well last Tuesday, and that's the last contact I've had.
But we did send him a card.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
hasn't it?
Better not say too much for on video. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's doing well.
Yeah.
Just say from Parish Council,
Kieran,
I
you're
wanted
next.
to say something, is that we're meeting on Thursday to discuss.
Yeah.
Good? Are you sure?
Where we are.
All right.
I just wanted to say thanks very much to the working group for Playground, because unfortunately I wasn't able to help you with the volunteering for last week, but
You would have brought the average age down by a lot, I tell you.
so I did have another commitment, so sorry about that. And also thanks to, well done for Sharon and for Rob at the bonfire, all the work you did recently. You did a lot of work for that, and I know there wasn't as many people necessarily helping as there could have been, so it was lovely weather. And I've noticed that the street lights over the zebra crossing is out. I don't know if it's our responsibility of Cambs County Council or if we use it, but one of the main street lights is not working.
They will be on the main street.
So yeah, on their website, there's a report from
Your business report.
yeah, everyone can do that, it doesn't have to be the council.
I probably won't get around to it, but I'll try and remember.
That's good. Okay. You mentioned Sharon. Come back.
No, nothing.
Sorry, could I just mention about parking on verges? It's in this icy weather, there are more cars parking along Church End. There's a new car that's parked just as you drive into Church End, right, kind of on the road, and I'm just concerned about safety really, because that's quite a difficult junction, isn't it? But I don't know whether we can do anything as a parish council to ask people, you know, put polite notice on their cars to say,
They can park.
please.
I'm not discussing it. Yeah, okay.
I know it's not for discussion, but I'm just flagging it up as an issue.
Right, yeah? Thank you very much. Meeting closed at 10:10. 9:50.